The following was recorded on February 16th, 2023. Hey, everybody, it's Honesty. And as you know, this is the Right Honesty podcast. AG and I are actually talking about a new to me author today. But before we get into that, Attorney General, how you doing?
I'm excellent.
I love to hear that you're excellent. I love it. I love it. We are actually going to talk about a la carte, well, the complete series actually of novellas. So the complete series is the Coffee Date novellas, but it starts with, actually it ends with a la carte,
Yes.
by Nia Forrester.
Yes.
But before we get there, AG, have you heard about this bit of romance adjacent news? So there is a woman who paid a photographer $100, and in the contract, it there was a model release form, and the woman signed the photographer's release form, not realizing that in the release form, it allows the photographer to use this woman's images as stock photography, basically to resell her images to stock sites. And so now she is
Oh.
on the cover of romance novels. She's being used in breast reduction ads.
Oh,
Like she has no control over her image. And I was like, oh my God.
that's why you got to read the fine print of
This
these
is why you have to
contracts.
read the fine print. And this is 13 years ago she had these headshots done. And I remember seeing this go around on TikTok as just like a little joke that she had put up. Not a joke, it wasn't funny to her, but it was like a jokey there's certain, if you're on TikTok, you know that like there's certain trends on TikTok that sometimes they're like little mini skits, or there's a music and then the person points to a picture behind them and you kind of get the joke if you're familiar with it on TikTok. And I feel horrible that this lady went through this. But here we are.
Yeah, because, that again, that's why you got to read these documents that people put in front of you for purposes of, exchanging goods, services, whatever the
Yes.
situation is, because it,
And
that's
now
how it
she can't
goes.
do nothing. She don't have
Right.
no control over her image. And I'm like,
Right.
and OMG, I just sent it to you over Facebook Messenger.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, that's what happened to her. So it's romance adjacent. But girl, I'm not gonna say your name out loud, but girl, I'm so sorry. You ain't never gonna hear this, but I'm sorry.
I thought you were going to talk about the author who apparently was
I'm not talking about that foolishness
was no having carnal knowledge of herself
of
in her Facebook
herself.
stories, and had our different Facebook groups all a
Child.
Twitter and a Flutter and pearl clutching and whatnot, because people were like, "Sacre bleu, my goodness."
What be wrong with the folk?
Well, yeah. So I was like, "What's happening?" And then I immediately sent you out to find out who it was, because no
And what
one
did
was
I
mentioning
do?
her. You did. You
Came
came
back
back.
with the information.
Yes, you did. I was like, "Go get the tea, please and thanks," and you did. See, one of the many reasons I appreciate you.
Child, that thing, I thankfully, I did not see the person's story, but I did hear tell of it. And I said to myself, a couple things came to mind for me. So this don't seem like an occupational hazard. Like it don't really seem like if I consent to being in these reader groups and like having reader friends and kind of mixing my Facebook. So my Facebook is all people who understand my name is HP, even though it's not HP. I'm not friends with anybody that knows my true identity. That's not true. You do, but you don't understand. But like if I'm a person who is mixing my personal life with my um reader life,
Yeah.
how do I know that this woman is not going to come up in there people you may know? And then my grandmama done seen her who had and her today's. Like, so there's gotta be some form of like, if you're interested, click here. Like you can't just let me come up on it. You know what I'm saying? Like, but I said maybe it's me, Chad. Maybe it's
it,
me.
it yeah, yeah.
Right. I said, I'm gonna leave it alone. I ain't gonna talk nothing about it. Y'all ain't never gonna see me speak publicly about no drama that's going on unless it's some foolishness that I fabricated to be funny.
Yeah. I was
Because,
I was I was like, "Oh my word. Oh my goodness. Lord have
but at the
mercy."
same time, maybe somebody is signing up. I don't know. Like maybe, but then I also was like, oh, did she get hacked? Like, did somebody? Oh, you know, it's very easy for you to like click to add a photo and then you accidentally tap the first one. Like
Mm,
maybe that was something to her private friend
mm.
and to accidentally moving too fast on social media, which is another reason why I am exceedingly careful. I mean,
Same, same.
oh boy, the amount of times that I confirm and reconfirm that
Yes.
that is the photo that I want to put up.
Yes, absolutely.
Because you
Absolutely.
ain't finna
We
find out
are
about me, child.
right. We are spirit animals in that respect.
Yes. Because I may surprise my spouse with a photo, but won't y'all? Y'all won't never see
Exactly.
it.
And we thank you for that. We thank you
Exactly.
on behalf of the masses. We appreciate
Yes, y'all
your
have to consent.
commitment to discretion.
Yes, to find out about me, child. You ain't finna
Everybody
pop up
don't
on
need
it.
to know everything.
Thank you. But listen, different strokes for different folks. And
Yeah.
stroke she did, I hear.
Yes.
Amen. All
But
right.
bump.
All right. But now we're gonna start. We gotta get to Rand
Yes.
and our girl because she had done some things herself, but she had not done anything with a partner
Correct.
before she
Correct.
met Rocket here.
Yes. 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 So let me say Nia was someone that I was like, I want you to read this. I want
Yes.
to introduce you to Nia Forrester. I'm a huge fan of Nia Forrester. I've read her entire catalog, and just really enjoy her writing, mindful of our conversations about what you categorize as romance versus something else. Nia describes herself as a women's fiction
Yes.
writer. And what I would say about Nia was, I I realized that Nia was in a different category when, over the course of her books, there is a character, that is absolutely a villain in one of her, probably her most popular book, the first book of the Commitment series.
Okay.
And this character then gets her own series. And Nia takes this character very skillfully from villain to beloved.
Okay.
And because I avoided
Wait, is
the
it Trudy?
no, it's not
Oh,
Trudy.
okay.
It's not Trudy. It's not, she's not a character in the a la carte
Okay.
novellas.
Okay. Okay.
But she is, yeah, she accuses a character of rape and he has to
Oof.
go on trial, and she lied about it. It was consensual. She was mad because he cheated on his, I think they were married at the time. He cheated on his wife, and that's kind of storyline. And so you're looking at this person and you're like, because it's clear that she was lying. Everyone knows she's lying. She knows she's lying, but he's got to go on trial because rape is obviously clearly a serious allegation. Um, and then Nia chose to give this character her own story, three
Hmm.
books, and
Hmm.
it's called the Mistress trilogy.
Okay.
And I was just kind of like, I avoided it for a long time, and I was like, I don't want to read about her. I hate her. And then finally picked it up, and I was like, wow, she did what I thought was impossible.
She did that. Okay.
She really did. So, but I thought that this series was, this it's because it's 4 novellas. And I have to assume, maybe one day we'll get to ask her. I have to assume that it probably started with, it was only going to be Coffee Date, and then I have to assume that Rand and Danny just kept talking to her, right?
Okay.
And so kept giving her more,
So they weren't back to back
because
to back to back.
I don't think so.
Okay.
And these have been out for a while. So
Excuse
by
me.
the time I read them, they were already out. It wasn't like I was waiting for them. But it would be interesting to ask her if that was how it happened. That basically,
Hmm.
because Nia's, the bulk of her catalog are standalones. So it's not like she's unfamiliar with just giving you the story and it's 400 pages or whatever the page count ends up being. But these 4 novellas are over 100 pages each, and each one is a chapter in the evolution of this couple's relationship,
Yeah.
right? Going from strangers to acquaintances to immediately lovers, but then in that undefined period and all the things that can happen with that, and then they define what they are. But some of his skeletons come out of the closet, right, in
Hmm.
Table for Two, and that puts them in a murky place again. And then finally into a la carte, where they are definitively, they are together, they are past
Right.
some of the like early relationship hiccups. And Danny is pregnant, so they are absolutely a family, but still navigating um, the waters, and again, things from the past that just are what they are, and how that influences them in this next stage of their relationship. But I felt like it would give you a flavor of Nia's writing style, and whether or not it resonates with you, whether or not you enjoyed it, without diving into like the Commitment series. Because
Yeah.
while that is a series of standalones, they are very much connected. And so it's like a 8 book commitment. I wasn't
Hmm.
I wasn't gonna do that to you
Okay.
in the first instance. I wanted you to like get her heavy past hors d'oeuvres,
Yeah, yeah,
right?
yeah.
Before we sit down for an 8 course meal where I'm like, read all of these.
I want to go to an event. This is random. I want to go somewhere. It's been a long time since I've been somewhere that had like really good past hors d'oeuvres. I need to
Mm,
look up a place to crash. So I can.
I'll tell you what, it hasn't been as long for me, but I confess that I now side eye the past trays because of
Ooh,
COVID,
no, that's
right?
accurate. That's
And
accurate.
so it's like if I'm the first person that the tray is coming to,
You
great.
got to stand by the kitchen.
Yeah, but if I'm when it's clear that the tray has already been tended to, I'm kind
True.
of like,
Yeah,
mm.
the last time was my best friend's wedding, and we were very close, and then we were the turn up table, so we was acting so crazy that the people was coming to us first because they wanted to have fun with us. But
See,
I
that's the
get
best
your
case
point
scenario. Yeah,
entirely because
yeah,
the day for all of that is long before us.
yeah. It's like
Okay,
you feel like you can see the germs in the air.
because ooh,
Um,
help
yeah,
Lord. Mm-mm.
yeah.
Okay, I loved it. I loved it, loved it, loved it, loved it,
See,
loved
I
it,
knew you
loved it.
would. I
I
knew you
loved
would.
it. I loved it. It put me in my feelings.
Yeah.
Um, and it made me step back. Um, so a couple things, like a couple of my first impressions. So one of them is that she reminds me of Joan in that she is calm. I
Yes.
didn't get the sense that she rushed her characters.
Yes.
And even if she's not calm in the writing, it is calm in the execution. I just felt so mellow
I
reading
agree.
them.
I agree.
And not bored, just mellow.
Yep.
And there were periods where their story got my pressure up, but not from a place of like I despise these people, which is usually when
Hmm.
my blood pressure is up, from a
Hmm.
place of or somebody need to be stabbed, from a place of like, oh no, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, because
Yeah.
I wanted them to be together and that was happening, but all the moments of, the woman coming with her when she's popping up on her when she was looking for the dress and finding out the truth about him, and the baby mama, but she was his wife, and now I can't think of the woman's name. Um,
Faith and Raina.
Faith, Faith, Faith,
Yeah.
Faith. I was trying to say Freya, but that's his sister.
Hmm.
Um, the awkwardness of Faith's mom being around and him
Well,
getting
you're
in the car accident. I mean, it was just all of it, all of it, all of it. All of the moments that got my pressure up were from me feeling great affection and love for the two of them and me
yes,
wanting everything to be smooth sailing.
yes. I'm realizing we should do a summary,
Oh
right?
yeah, 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 yeah. We
Yeah.
can, we can.
So,
um, Go ahead.
so Randall Reese, known as Rand, or his celebrity name was Rocket Reese, is a former NFL football player. And Danielle Erlinger, Danny, is she is a life coach, and they grew up in the same town. They went to the same high school. They knew each other in passing, but when they intersect again, he does not remember her. Whereas we know, because we live in these characters' heads, that Danny has never forgotten him, or nor did she ever forget the crush that she had on him. Um, Rand was high school football star, local hero, went to the NFL, and met a girl who he liked, and it was new. She beautiful, and they go to a Halloween party where they are dressed as he is dressed as a piece of bacon and she is dressed as an egg, sunny side up. And the photo of them goes viral, and suddenly this very new interaction, because you can't even call it a relationship, spirals and snowballs into this thing that neither one of them can control. And before either of them know it, they have been dubbed as the NFL's it couple, young love. She starts getting opportunities because she's associated with him. He, is experiencing the cachet of having this woman that people are fascinated with and fascinated about his relationship, experiencing all of that. And they like trip into getting married and then having a baby, even though they don't really know each other. um Rand didn't necessarily want those things, but he admits that he got swept up in the craziness of all of it. And so you, as he describes, you end up having these two people who were thrown together and were almost like hostages of this situation that they were actively participating in, but that neither one of them exactly created. um, and it continues to spiral out of control after their son, who they name Rocket, is born. And Rand is cheating and acting out and unhappy. Faith, his wife, was similarly unhappy because she was feeling the pressure of this monster machine that they were living in. And things had become very toxic between them. Their last interaction is a fight. It's an argument. Rand is saying he doesn't want to do this anymore. She has confronted him about getting caught cheating for the umpteenth time. And he just keeps saying, I want to leave. I want to leave. And we're told all of this as he is retelling this story 2 years later. But she runs out, she grabs their son, gets in the car and ends up driving down the highway. It crashes into another vehicle where she is killed. The passengers in the other vehicle were killed, and their son is injured, but thankfully survives. And so when we meet Rand, it is 2 years later. It is the second anniversary of Faith's death. As we can all imagine, the press swarm that surrounded him after this horrible accident was just, the next awful chapter in a story that he had been trying to get out of anyway. And he becomes a recluse. He's raising his son. He retreats back. He's living in the house that they lived in the town that he grew up in. And his sister, who raised him, hires a woman in the town, Danny, who is a life coach, to meet up with Rand on the second anniversary of his wife's death. And the appeal of Danny is the fact that they went to high school together. And so his sister, because she's concerned that he's stuck, she styles it as just a coffee date with an old friend to get Rand out of the house. He does not remember Danielle. He has no idea that she's a life coach. But what evolves from there and transpires from there is skepticism that then warms into curiosity, that then warms into attraction, that then warms into sexual chemistry. And we find some things out. Danny is a virgin, and she does not disclose that to him until after she gives him her virginity. Danny is someone who has recently lost weight, and is still getting adjusted to who she is now, which is very different from who she has been her entire life up to that point, which was fat, very introverted, lacking self-confidence, wallflower, used to being ignored. And now she is trying to get comfortable in her new skin, both literally and figuratively. Right. So that's the beginning of them. That's Coffee Date. And of course, in Coffee Date, the quote unquote betrayal of finding out that she's a life coach is revealed, and he is hurt and feels betrayed and lashes out at her. But it did open him up. And it does mark the beginning of a reemergence for him because he begins to interact with his former team. He begins to interact with folks at ESPN, which then results in an on air opportunity. And he eventually works his way back to Danny because he realizes that um, the connection he felt with her, despite the deception, that was authentic and that was legitimate, and he really does not want to let go of that. So I'll pause there, at least for Coffee Date, because I think then the others kind of, we can talk about that more high level, but that's how we get introduced to Rand and Danny. You want to add anything?
No, not about the summary. No, that was good.
I tried. Because it
So
is like
it is a
both
lot.
so much and
Yeah.
yet it's a novella, right? So it's like just kind of when you think about a novella, you set your expectations accordingly.
And I did. Yeah.
And yet Nia and I, we've talked about this also. I don't know if it's like on air or off air. CCJ is another one who, even in some of her novellas, right, they're like heavy past hors d'oeuvres. They're not
Yeah.
like just the cocktail weenies, right, and some Sprite.
Right. Right.
So it's always a pleasant surprise when someone in the context of a novella gives you so much more than you were expecting, right? You're like, oh, I wasn't
Yeah,
expecting
and
this, and
I
I love it.
actually, right, for sure. And when I got to the end of the first one, I was actually angry when I got to the end of Coffee Date because I was like, where is the rest? And then I when I got to just lunch, I was like, oh, ooh, okay.
Yeah, you're about to send a nasty gram. Excuse
I
me, Nia
was, because
Forrester.
I harass people in public, so it don't bother me to say, what is your problem? Um, so yeah, no, yes, I thought that's a really good summary. And I'm gonna tell you what stressed me out. Let's begin. Um, what stress so as having viewed disordered eating, I won't say eating disorder, but I'll say disordered eating, having had a view of that in my family. And when I say disordered eating, I mean like I grew up with folks who the older women in my family were like Dexatrim or
Mm,
what are some of the other stuff that came, Olestra back in the day. They were like pills and like different like
yes,
additives back in the day that
yes.
after we found out that they was gonna turn your eyes green. Um, but
You
some of them,
definitely took it back with Dexatrim.
listen, I'm
Side
telling
note, I
you.
used to represent that company, but move
So you
along.
know about it, okay. So, but what was the one? Fin is one
Yep,
that got
Fenfen.
taken off the market.
Yep, yep.
Um, but but people love Fin though because it really did work. I mean, I think it
It
was
did.
like kind of an amphetamine, so that might have been
Yes,
why. But
yes, yes.
so the like the calorie counting and being like really calorie conscious and the exercising and the commenting on like low key minor dysmorphia
Mm,
about like knowing that she had lost the weight and that her body was different but still not seeing herself that way.
yes, yes.
All of that as subtext for their intimacy stressed me out.
Yeah,
Stressed
yeah,
me out in a good way. Stressed me out like I understand what that is. I've seen that, but
yeah.
stressed me out like I wanted to wrap my arms around her and be like, girl, it don't matter.
Yeah. You know what I thought was two things that I would say at the outset. We spent, I felt like we spent more time in their
Yes,
heads
we did.
than them than in dialogue,
Hmm.
which I really, really enjoyed.
Yep.
Because we were not that we're not along the ride in with other writers when they're not doing that as much, but I really liked being in both of their heads as they were moving about and
Yes.
doing certain things. I was like, I felt like the friendly shadow, right? Just
Yep.
sitting there like, yep,
Yep.
yep. Um, which just number one, Danny was always, in my opinion, positioned as clearly the more relatable character, right? Like,
Hmm.
and you didn't, because Danny was a regular person, so to speak.
Yeah.
Whereas Rand, because he had this specter of celebrity, she she made him more relatable because we spent so much time in his head.
Hmm.
Because if we had not spent as much time in Rand's head, I think it would have been very easy for Rand to have come across as an asshole in the beginning, right? Where you're like, I don't know if I like you or not. But we had this look. It's the second anniversary of this very tragic event. But even the way that he is viewing Danny, right? When he's thinking about
Yeah.
meeting with Danny before he goes, and he's like, well, what kind of woman meets up with somebody they haven't seen in 20 years just cuz? She
Right.
must be desperate, right?
Right.
And then when he sees Danny, he's like, well, she's pretty in that prettiest person in the church if there's no one else,
Yes. Now ain't that
right?
something?
Right?
I wanted to step
Pretty.
on his feet.
I did, right? So you're kind of like, sir, but realizing where he's coming from an environment where he was always surrounded by and approached by tens,
Right.
right? And he acknowledges that. And so it made the evolution of how he viewed Danny that much more satisfying because you were seeing as it transpired that she went from being pretty for a super plain, unadorned
Yeah.
girl. I think that's how he describes her.
Yeah.
To now he's noticing the way she walks.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, she
And it
has a pretty
happens
smile.
quickly.
It
Yeah.
happens quickly, but it also
Yeah.
happens so organically. And
Yep.
that's because he's talking to her. They're having interaction that is not sexual. She's
Mm-hmm.
incredibly easy to talk to. She's funny. She's down to earth. He notices, several moments where she seems to know exactly how to pivot them or to run
Yes.
interference because he's feeling awkward,
Mm-hmm.
right? And you can see how her attraction is slowly but surely and steadily increasing higher and higher and higher by the
Mm-hmm.
minute, um, to where by the end of the night, he's like, mm, this woman, right? When they
Mm-hmm.
finally make love, it's like, oh,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, yeah, right. And it's not just because it's been 2 years since he's had sex, right? But
Mm-hmm.
because he is very much attracted to her insides, which then enhanced how she looked to him on the outside, right? And Danny, what I think what we as the reader always know is that by quote unquote regular standards, Danny is an attractive woman. But
Mm-hmm.
Rand has not been around regular attractive in a really long time. And so
Right.
his perspective on that is warped
Yeah.
because he's been used to being around women that were on at all times, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, because they're trying to catch a baller.
Yep. And I feel like she did an excellent job, like an expert job at displaying his immaturity.
Yes.
But all throughout the book. Okay, so this is what I was telling my husband about this book. I don't know if she did this on purpose. I'm sure she did, but it really struck me how she illustrated two people coming together, but in a way that we don't usually see.
Yes.
Because
Yes.
what happened with them is, so in the first book, they encounter each other. It's under false pretenses. They grow to enjoy each other over this extended 24, 36 hour date, something
Yep.
like that. The
Yep.
truth comes out, they separate, but he can't stay away from her because in
Yes.
the conversations that they've been having, um she gets him to open up, and because
Yes.
it is the anniversary of the passing of his former wife, he needs it. He needs to
Yes.
talk, and his sister knows this. And because it was so easy to talk to her, even though he's mad at her, he keeps calling her back.
Yes.
So when we get to the next one, they see each other. It's still not clear what they are, but they something. Because he has gotten over the bulk of, at least suppressed or gotten over the bulk of his upset at her. And so they're starting to date, and then,
Yes.
on and on and on and on. But what Nia showed, which I didn't anticipate seeing, was we find out about each other, and we're excited about each other, and we feel all the early
Yes.
stuff that clouds your brain and fucks up your judgment. Okay.
Yes.
And so we do that, and that's a lot of fun. But as we stay together, right? So maybe that's at a high point. As we stay together and get to know each other, we actually start going lower because I'm finding out your quirks. and that you
Yes.
don't put the top back on the toothpaste, and that your
Yes.
shoes is by my front door.
Yes.
And then you end up going, but as you wade through that stuff and your intimacy increases, you end up going up again because you get to love this person in a new way, and you start to see them as a person, as a human, and not just somebody that you excited about, right?
Yes.
And then something else might happen. So like for them, it was, she finds out about what his real life was, and she
Yes.
begins to interact with people from his former days, and she finds out just how much of a fuck boy he was.
Yes.
And then they end up down again, and then you
Yes.
see them building trust and intimacy all over again slowly, and then they find out that she's pregnant, and he ain't happy, but he forget not to show it. But,
Yes.
and what that is, what that means, and like what he wanted things to be. And so to watch their, I'm gonna say roller coaster just so that you see the imagery, but it
Yes.
doesn't feel like a roller
That's
coaster
right.
while
That's
you're
right.
reading it.
That's right.
But it is definitely the ebb and the flow, the up and the down, the push and the pull, the yin and the yang of what it is
Yes.
like to actually love a whole human that you know inside and out.
And I think also because typical romance stories, right? It is this because the intention in them coming together was not to be romantic,
Yes.
right? And while she was very much attracted to him from the door, as we just discussed, it blossomed for him, right? But it started as, this is someone I'm just catching up with, and my
Right.
mind is not even thinking about relationship or anything like that. And then, so it's different from like a friends to lovers, right? Where there's a level of intimacy and familiarity, but it's not yet
Yes.
sexual,
Yes.
right? It's different from we met because we wanted to date. I take your number, you take mine. We start interacting with the purpose of getting to know each other to date. They had this whole, like you said, 24 to 36 hours where I mean,
Hmm.
based on the things that they shared with each other in conversation, they covered more territory in that initial 24 to 36 hours than people cover in like the first 4 to 6 months
For sure.
potentially,
For sure.
you know. um and then the sex like happened, but it was like a surprise for both of them because it was like, oh, looks like we're gonna have
Yep.
sex.
Yep. Yep.
Oh,
Yep.
wait, we don't have condoms. Oh, wait.
Right.
Right. And then there was a delay, right? And but agree with all of that. And I think them being in their heads made all of that even more enjoyable because we were getting the quote unquote unfiltered thought processes and internal dialogue more, even more than the external dialogue of what they were saying to each other.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I think she just fleshed that out more than maybe some people do, so that as you were sitting in their heads you were getting the full picture, right, of what was happening, which is not always the case when you're sitting in people's heads, because in every book, at some point or another
Right.
the reader is in their heads. But I felt like we were getting everything, like there was no stone unturned for me as I was sitting in their heads, which is not always the case when I'm reading a book.
Yeah, no, I agree. And so let's get into some of the details here.
Mm-hmm.
How did you feel about her surprising him with her virginity?
It was that this was, I felt, part and parcel of Danny getting, still trying to get comfortable in her skin, right?
I
Because
struggle with it.
look, Danny had crushed on him since they were in high school, and when we
Yeah.
meet them they're 30, right? So what is that, at least 12, 13,
Yeah.
maybe
Yeah.
14
Yeah.
years that she had been crushing on him. And you can see that when she is realizing that the boy that she remembered is still in there,
Yeah. Yeah.
it's kind of
Yeah.
like, oh,
Yeah.
let me give you my chastity belt. But
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
completely understood why he was so taken aback, because it was like, bruh, like, hello, I just met you. Like, I didn't
Right.
realize, it's different when you think you're having a one night stand with someone who
Yep.
is at least experienced enough to know that. We all know that a woman's virginity, for many women, the value that is assigned to that, um and what can happen afterwards, right? And so I got him being very taken aback, um and I was very sad for her, because even as she is describing why it had not happened up to that point, right? When she was like, you know, guys like you and women that look differently from me have endless opportunities to
Right.
give it away, right? And to
Right.
dispense with this as a pure formality and just, check the box. That was not her experience, right? And it just that was one of those moments where I was like, oh,
So yeah. So this is the part. Go ahead. Sorry.
no, no, finish. Go ahead.
This is the part that I asked my husband about because he gets the heebie-jeebies about people's virginity.
Mm,
And so, in our conversations, I'm always wondering, like, why does it bother you? Like, why does it feel like a moment? But if you raised in the U.S., there's some element of purity culture, and even more if you're raised in certain Christian denominations. And so, for him, it even though just like for Danny, she's saying this is not a moment. Like this just something that in terms of like I'm saving it for you, and I got pictures of you in my bathroom with
right,
and I didn't tape my head on the
right.
weights, and what I'm saying, like she wasn't crazy or like out of touch with reality. It was just this was the natural evolution of what we happen to be doing, and okay, here we go.
Yeah,
But it also stressed me out though, just because I knew he was going to react like that.
yeah,
Like, because for some men, my husband is one of them, like even if the woman says it's not a moment, for him it's a moment.
yeah.
And I don't know why, I mean, he's told me, but these are not answers that I agree with, so I keep acting like I don't know what they are. I don't know why he believes that it is some special thing, or that but we talked about this idea that sex being a thing that men take and that women give away,
Mm,
and not wanting to be the first one to take something from a woman. And
mm.
there are a lot of myths around, like, oh, she'll never leave you alone, because Trudy
Yep.
gets into it,
Yes.
of like he's using you, and now he
Yes.
done one thing to you, and now you done gone crazy, and I don't ever see you no more, and blah blah. So I mean, there are elements of that kind of bore out in the book, but it stressed me out just because I knew he was not going to understand what it was. Like, I am not obsessed with you, dummy. You know what I mean?
I
Like,
will say this
this just
though,
happened.
but I was not sure. Candidly, I was not sure that Danny would be as nonchalant in actions as she appeared to be in words,
Okay, interesting.
because we knew that she had harbored this crush for him.
Hmm.
Um, and again, now she was getting this glimpse of the boy that she remembered, but now he is in this even sexier package.
Yeah.
He is a wounded bird, and there's attraction to that as well. So it just kind of felt like, it's like, imagine getting to have that experience with your celebrity crush, right? The boy that you had wanted from afar since
Yeah.
you all were kids, and you get to do it. And he's now your first and your only. I was not entirely sure. There was a part of me that wondered. I remember the first time I read it, that wondered if she was minimizing because she didn't have prior experience, if she was minimizing just how that would affect her.
Yeah. I the reason I well, the reason I thought she would be all right is I didn't get the sense, since this was my first project by Nia Forster, I didn't get the sense that we were getting ready to watch her go crazy.
Right, right.
I
Not go crazy. Not go crazy.
Okay.
Agreed.
But I think I saw her. I I felt like whatever you thought you were going to get out of it, whatever modicum, whether you thought about it for days or you thought about it for 10 minutes, he is not mature enough to make it go any kind of way you would want it to go.
Mm,
And so I felt like she didn't know everything about him, but I
Right.
felt like she knew him well enough to know that he was not getting ready to sweep her into and serve her a slice of Viennetta ice cream that when I was little
Oh
was the
God,
top of
yes.
any
Yeah.
luxury.
Talk about marketing at its finest, right?
Right. Right. Did I really believe that this ice cream was gonna make me rich or that was only
Yeah.
for rich people or whatever? Like, I thought that she knew him well enough to know that he was not getting ready to sweep her anywhere.
I think Danny was an interesting dichotomy because I don't think that's unfounded, what you've just said. But Danny was an interesting dichotomy of someone who both had tremendous self awareness,
Yeah.
but she was still struggling with who she is
Yeah.
now.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. And so that would manifest itself in different ways. And I think that was one of the things, because even the handling of it, right? It's like, why wouldn't she tell him,
Right.
I haven't done this before,
Right.
right? Why would it be that he finds out by virtue of the fact that he can see that she's in
I didn't
pain
understand
and
that.
then he
Yeah.
sees blood on the sheet, right?
Yeah.
So that's why it's the, on the one hand, right, this tremendous amount of self-awareness and maturity, but on the other hand, it was like, sis, like that was not the way to spring it on
It
him.
wasn't, but at the same time, it wouldn't have got done. So that's
Well,
why I understand.
maybe.
It stressed me out, but I understood.
Yeah, yeah. So, and then of course, he is understandably like, huh? How do you not
Right.
tell me, that
Blew his
this
whole
is
high.
right, right.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they look, they do get past it, but then of course, then the second reveal of her being the life coach, and it's like,
Right.
I loved when Freya was like, are you new to this? Like, are you kidding me? Because she wanted to now lay the cards on the table. And Fred was like, girl, you could have just given me my money back. Like,
Right.
it didn't occur to you that you might like bruise his ego
Right.
in telling him that the way you all came together was that I paid you
Right.
to talk to him.
Yeah, no, for sure. Yeah, but so you're right. You're right. She is dealing with a couple different things at the same time.
Yeah.
For sure. What did you think about what did you think about the idea of Freya doing that?
So look, we know that Freya was his mother and
She
father.
was.
She
Yeah.
was his parent, right? Because we're told that his father passes away when Rand is 12 and Freya is 18 going on 19, I guess.
Hmm.
So she is the parent that he has had the longest. Their mother clearly passed away even sooner than that, earlier than that. Um, it sounded like something that a parent might do, right? And
Hmm.
it's like, I want to be creative about it, because if I say, Rand, you should go to therapy, well, that's not going to go over well.
Right.
And thinking, look, if I can get him to talk to someone, then that would be a good thing. And it worked, right? It worked. It did work,
Hmm.
because Danny, be it her personality and or her training, she was able to get him to open up in a way that he had not done with anyone, right? Like he shared things with her that Freya didn't even know.
Yeah.
So it was one of those like well-intentioned, um, and you may say poorly thought out, but
Yeah.
it was successful, right? Because he might have continued to remain stuck, right? Which wouldn't have been the best thing for him or his son.
Hmm.
Um, so
Yeah.
she
So
got a pass from me. I was like,
yeah, yeah, she got a pass for me too. Actually, like if we look at Freya in total, because by the end of the book, not the end, but like the second to last story and the last story is in one of them that Freya and Danny are like starting to finally acknowledge that
yes,
folks have been enabling
yes,
Rand
yes.
and and that he really really was deep down immature um in a way that like she was, because even Danny says like you don't even raise your own son. Like your sister's raised, I mean, you here, but your sister's doing the work. She
And
doing like
he
a lot of the hard stuff.
and he acknowledges that to himself,
Yeah.
in book one, right, where he's like, they're he's like his manners, right?
Mm-hmm.
Things that he's getting all of these. He's like, I feel like I'm just the one that clothes him and feeds him and keeps a
Right.
roof over his head. Yeah,
Right.
yeah,
And him, like, everybody's coming to terms with that. Like, and that's what I mean about like watching this progression, because
yep,
every time he grows and hits a new level, there's something new for him to grapple with.
yes,
And
yes,
something new for her to adjust to.
yes,
And so after I finished looking back, it was their story, but for me, like, his arc was steeper. He
yes.
had much
Agreed.
more of a there was much more of a turnaround from his start to his finish.
Absolutely.
Because even after the reveal of the being a virgin, then now he jealous and he want to make sure he don't sleep that she don't sleep with nobody else.
Which was just so typical,
It
where
was
you're
so
just like,
man.
it was so man, because he's like, when am I ever encountering basically a 30-year-old version,
Mhm.
right? Where her experience with me is all she knows,
Mhm.
right? So it was very like cliche, but so accurate and spot
Mhm.
on, and just, yeah.
And right, and even in the talk, his when he starts calling her back because he can't stay away from her, um, they they have a conversation that she's willing to have with him, and then he act like an asshole to get off the phone.
Yes,
And
yes.
so you
Going back to
really
his immaturity, right?
yes,
Going back to his
yes,
immaturity.
that's what I mean. But then even then by the time we get to her visiting him and Alexa, who I believe that's was the woman's name,
Yes, yes.
and him leaving the house to go to her
Lord
party.
have mercy.
So it's
Yeah,
like he understood, like, it. I've never seen anything like this,
yeah.
that very subtly but very clearly shows you, like, with every round they going higher and higher.
Yes,
But with
yes.
every rung, excuse me, every rung, um there's something new for that's exposed that they have to adjust to, and but without it feeling bombastic. Like, it wasn't like, and then he slept with my sister and then set my house on fire
Right,
and then
right. And I think that's it, right? Like, it was just enough where you were
yeah,
like, Negro, please, but
right.
not where you felt Rand was irredeemable,
Correct.
right?
Correct.
You're like, brother, I need you to get with this learning curve,
Yes.
right? But not to the point where you were like, they don't need to be together. She needs to just
Yes.
not be with him. And
Yes.
I loved that Nia positioned Danny, that for all of Danny's stars in her eyes about Rand in the beginning, and right, like Trudy says, you're first at bat and you hit a home run because you got your
She was a
celebrity crush, you
hater.
got your
Oof.
childhood crush.
Yeah.
um and you have him, and Danny's like, well, I don't actually have him because what we're doing is undefined. But
Right.
Danny was not allowing herself to be a doormat, right? And
Right.
so with the Alexa thing, which he just, and you again,
Big
because we're in
damn
his
dummy.
head,
Mm-hmm.
and he's like, I know I'm playing with fire, but I confess there's a part that wants to confirm that the fever of my old life has fully
Yes.
broken. um,
Yes.
I will tell you that there is a moment and a line in it's is it table? It must be Table for Two. It's the beginning of Table for Two, which remains one of my favorite moments and lines of any book that I've read, which is high praise. I haven't read a ton of books, but it's very practical. When after they've made it official, right? And he and Alexa are in the office. She pops by his office and she's still throwing out her flirtation and
Mm-hmm.
all that stuff. And he's kind of like, yep, been there, done that. We will not be going down this road again. But he says, I am something along the lines of, I am clear on the lesson that Danny taught me. She will leave me.
Mm-hmm.
If I demonstrate to her that I cannot be the man that she needs, and I am not prepared
Yes.
to give her what she needs of me, she
Yes.
will leave me. She will not
Yes.
want to do it. It will hurt her to do it, but she will
Yes.
leave me.
Yes.
And
Yes.
I loved how that was just like he is having that crystal clear,
Mm-hmm.
moment in his head. And he said, "Oh, no, no, no. We are not. Mm-mm. No,
Well,
child."
and you want that. Like
Yes.
you want
Yes.
you don't want your partner to fear abandonment, but you want your partner to understand your boundaries.
And here's the thing, I felt that all of that happening in his head rather than him saying to Danny, "I don't want you to ever leave me. I don't want to ever give you a reason to leave me." It was more powerful for me
Yes.
that he was having that moment alone in his
Yes.
head as opposed to dialogue with a friend or with Danny herself or even Alexa saying, "Girl, I ain't fooling with you. I ain't trying to lose my woman." Because we've seen other authors have the man convey that sentiment, right?
Mhm.
But it was just so powerful for me the way that she had him be very clear with himself that it would hurt her to do it, but that Danny would absolutely prioritize herself if he showed her he could not be what she needed
Mhm.
and wanted and deserved.
Mhm.
Period. Full
Mhm.
stop. Full
Yep.
stop. I love it. I love it.
Yeah, I did too. That was one of the moments that I appreciated him, and there were some where I was like, I need you to do so much better. But
Indeed.
that was not one of
Indeed.
them.
Indeed.
That was
I
not
mean,
one
because
of them.
it took a really ridiculous situation for him to, and it was like Nia put it such that it wasn't he got caught kissing another woman, right?
Right.
He said something blatantly inappropriate. It was just he was not picking up the cues
Yeah.
that were obvious as hell, and they were also in this undefined space, right? They were in this gray area. And so she had her little, lunch date that she had scheduled with Eric, and now she's rethinking all of that. And the minute she's ready to come to him and be like, "I don't want anybody else. I just want
Right.
to be me and you," he's dressed and getting ready to go to this Alexa party when it was clear to everyone, Freya, Garrett, everyone,
Everybody.
he did not need to be going. His ass needed to be staying right where he was with his woman that was not yet officially his woman, right? And all the
Right.
things that can go wrong when you're in that gray space of we haven't put a label on it. We're going with the flow. We're seeing where it takes us.
Yeah. No, I agree. Um, uh, I'm reminded of while you were talking about picking up the cues, of at the end of, because I've looked in Amazon of when everything came out. So Coffee Date was September 2017. Just Lunch was October 2017. Table for Two, November 2017.
Okay.
And then though, a la carte, August 2018.
Interesting. Okay.
And so it made me look at the end of Table for Two, which is when he finds out that the child is not his,
Yes.
but he don't come right out and tell her.
Right.
He make her, he gives her this hypothetical that makes her think that the child is
Yes.
his while she's still grappling with, I'm haunted by the first woman's memory.
Yes.
It's already 157 people, that's in the mix that know you from when. There's SJ and his fiance, and
Yes.
it's just a lot going on, and she's trying to get used to being in a world of famous people or people with significant access and resources,
Mm-hmm.
only to have this woman come and tell you at the S piece, "Oh, by the way, this baby might be yours."
Right.
Like,
Right.
ma'am. But anyway, um, and so instead of just coming to her and blurting out, "Hey, it's not
Yeah.
mine. We
Right.
forever be free." He poses this hypothetical and knocks her completely off her rocker. They missed a little reservation and all this because he an asshole. So
Yes.
that's what I mean by, like,
Yes.
sometimes he was on and sometimes he was off. It was
And
like,
to that very scenario, kind of uh, again giving Nia credit for Danny having backbone, right?
yeah,
Because Danny took the step back when all of that
yes, yes,
uncertainty
yes,
about the
yes, yes,
paternity
yes,
was going on, and Danny said, "Look, we need some space because I need
yes.
to be able to feel how I feel, and you need to focus on Rocket, who was having the
The
behavioral
behavior,
issues,
yes.
right, and navigating what life is going to look like in terms of this new normal. What happens if this child that he did not know about is actually his? And I gave Danny a lot of credit for that because we knew how much she loved this man at this point,
Yes,
right?
yes,
And this child, and wanting them to be a family, and was so excited about the prospect of the three of them being a family. And now this bomb from the past gets
yes.
dropped in their lap. And she's like, I'm not mad at you. And yet I am resentful because, your past
Mm-hmm.
has dropped this giant pile of flaming poo
Yes.
on our doorstep. And I need to be able to process how I feel about that,
Mm-hmm.
as opposed to her burying how she felt in the name of being supportive of him.
Yeah. Well, and the other thing about like her having backbone too was as she works with the basketball guy, and that
Yep.
kind of gets her on the radar, but not really on the radar. But once SJ takes his flirting ass, so he ain't mean no harm, he
Yes.
just couldn't keep himself together. Once
Yes.
he puts her on Instagram or wherever he puts her, then it's on and
Her
popping.
business explodes. Mm-hmm.
Yes. And but you can see the parallel of him being excited for him and his ESPN opportunities, and because he goes out to see a game and he takes Rocket with him, and there's a little bit of conversation from the coach or somebody about him potentially coming back, but
Mm-hmm.
there's also at the same time this ESPN opportunity,
Mm-hmm.
and she's saying to him, do what's best for you.
Mm-hmm.
Now when she's has these opportunities, he in his feelings.
Well, because remember, going back to the immaturity, and also he was coming from an environment
Right, where he
where the
yes.
woman catered to him, right?
Yes.
And every woman that he dealt with was prepared to have her
Drop
individual
everything.
interests,
Yes.
right, to take a back seat to whatever he had going on,
Yep.
right? Because when he wants her to come with him to the SBs for the entire week, and she's like, I've got appointments, like I can't just drop everything, come be with you. And
Yes.
again, in his head, he's like, he was taken aback because his wife and the women that he dealt with prior to that, but like there was no question, like he was the big dog, and
Yep.
so they were going to do whatever they had to do to be supportive of him. You know what I thought, because we're so focused on Danny being a virgin, and Danny clearly hadn't really dated much, and it was her and Trudy. What she say? Her and Trudy were like two survivors in the cave, and
Mhm.
for so many years, because they were overweight and felt unattractive, and they were introverted, and they kind of clung to each other, right?
Mhm.
But Rand tells us Danny is his first real relationship
Yep.
that he's ever been faithful in,
Yep.
because the high school doesn't count, right? He was in high
Right.
school, and it talks about having the high school girlfriend, and whatever. And then he gets to the NFL, and it was him and Faith,
Mhm.
and he was doing a whole lot of other things in addition to being legally married to her. But Danny is his first real relationship too.
Yep.
Um, so I had to remind myself, like, as you're watching him do certain things, you're like, the learning curve for him is similar to hers, his sexual experience,
Right.
notwithstanding,
Right.
because he didn't have relationship experience.
No, he didn't. And I mean, so this is important. This is a little bit of an aside, but y'all walk with me. Because women's relationships with their friends are so deep,
Hmm.
and because if you have a rift with your girlfriend and you're gonna improve the relationship, y'all have to talk about the hard thing. You got to say what hurt your feelings, and you got to hear her side, and then you got to stomach the different perspective, and y'all got to figure out how you're gonna move on, and whatever,
Hmm.
whatever, whatever, right? And so, and women start getting experience with that when they are girls.
Yeah.
You told Olivia not to play with me. Well, that's because you told Samantha, and then you gotta hash it out so that you can stay friends in time for the slumber party.
Yeah.
Guys don't do that.
Yeah.
Everything gets swept under the rug. We
Yeah.
good, man. Yeah, we good, man. And then that's it.
Yeah.
And so, even though she did not have a lot of like relationship experience with a guy, she had enough relationship experience with people that she cared about to be able to navigate them, because she's the one that steers them through some of these rough waters. even though she can't claim that she has had some, a love of her life or been married or whatever. And I find that like when I'm talking to clients or just anybody in general, like people don't necessarily think of it that way. That like the meat of what you need with your partner has I mean your genitals are part of it, but like that ain't the
Yeah.
most important thing. Like
The nuts and
y'all.
bolts of a relationship.
Yes, the
Yeah.
nuts and bolts of a relationship can be, not always, but can be universal in terms of the skills that you need to
Yeah.
stay in relationship after there's been a breach.
Yeah.
And he had none of that.
None of that.
And while she didn't have it in a relationship, she had had it with friends and probably like in work situations. But even in his occupation, he would not have that, because even if you disagreeing while you're in the development of the plays or on the field or whatever, guys don't typically, I don't mean that they never do, but they don't typically hash it out. They just decide that it's over and then it's over.
And it's also, like you said, because of his talent and his profession, he was also having a very particular type of
Yes.
um
He wasn't on the
experience
practice
in it.
squad. People knew
Yeah,
not to give him the blues.
that's right. In
Yeah.
interpersonal relationships, he was having a very different experience from what most men have, period, because
Yes.
most men are not celebrities, right?
Right.
He was treated from his teenage years like a god.
Yep.
And that only gets worse when you're in the NFL or any sport, right? Or any type of celebrity. You're surrounded by people that treat you as otherworldly, and so they
Yes.
suspend a lot of the requirements that they place on other people when interacting with you.
Yes. That's for sure. And so I thought that was interesting, especially because as we read these books and we talk about like emotional maturity, emotional availability, like, who too old to be acting like that and,
Yeah.
all that kind of stuff. But like taking into account that, like, we don't mature with age, we just get taller.
Yeah.
Like, the details of what it means to be an adult are not automatic.
Right.
And you can go your whole life without getting some of them.
Yeah.
And so, but it was really interesting to watch because she had been, not that she didn't have to acquire new skills, because she did. She had to deal with her um feelings about herself and her body image issues,
Yep.
especially in the face of these women who, like you're
Yep.
saying, are the archetype.
Mm-hmm.
And she had to like navigate her friendship with Trudy, which got weird on multiple
Yeah.
occasions. And I was like, please block her number. She had to navigate, once we get to the last book, Faith's, like we were talking about earlier, Faith's mom being there and kind of what that was. And even Freya, because, Freya can't, as she was losing Trudy and she was trying to figure out who her friend circle was going to be and kind of dealing with that loss, but also dealing with Trudy's attitude. Like, it would have been very easy for her to slot Freya in that space
Yep.
without a whole lot of thought.
Yep.
But that could have been very dangerous
Yes.
because
Yes.
Freya don't need to know all your business, and Freya's allegiance is to her brother.
Absolutely. And she had the presence of mind to recognize that there were
Yes.
certain things she wasn't going to share with Freya. Right.
Yes.
So she was
Yes.
clear. It was just just going back a little bit to the Danny Trudy friendship. And it just reminded me of a friendship that was very dear to me, and the circumstances were different in terms of us becoming different people, right? It's one of my niece's mothers,
Mm,
and we were best friends before she became my niece's mother.
hmm.
But she had my niece, I was starting college,
Mm,
and that at the time, yes, I understood that we were um moving in different directions, but I didn't understand how much that would impact the friendship.
hmm.
And there ended up being a total breach, and more than anything, when I looked back on it, it was because she just felt like we were in two completely different places, and that we could no longer relate, which was true in certain instances but untrue in others. And so she manufactured a betrayal,
Yeah. Oh,
to
wow.
justify ending, or pulling away from me, which
Hmm.
hurt very deeply. But it was just that when they have that argument and Trudy is like, you should not have hit the home run first at bat, right?
Yeah.
While I was headed to college, full ride, and experiencing all that came with that. My friend was becoming a mother, and entering this chapter with my brother, who was a
Yeah.
dog, who I tried to get them to stay away from each other, but child, it didn't work.
They don't listen.
And all that came with that. And I think she just, as much as she would have wanted to be happy for me, because it wasn't just well, now she had real deal adult responsibilities.
Hmm.
I think there was also a certain layer of resentment there.
Yeah.
um Not, I think, I know, because of comments that were made.
Okay.
So when the betrayal was manufactured to kind of justify completely pulling away, i knew I knew it was manufactured, right?
Okay.
Not
So you didn't know in the moment.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So it just, the Trudy situation, it resonated with me because of some of the parallels, and I just thought, it was, uh, we had a broader friend circle, but it sounded like for Trudy and Danny, it was just the two of them,
Yeah.
right? That there were no one else, and I couldn't imagine that, where it had been just the two of them, these two peas in a pod, for almost 2 decades,
That's
because
a
they
long
meet when
time.
they're little kids,
Yeah.
right? And go all the way through high school, all the way through college, well into their professional years, as these two peas in a pod.
Hmm.
And then Danny has that light bulb moment and starts changing and evolving into someone that Trudy doesn't recognize, and is intimidated and threatened by,
Yeah.
and is feeling left behind. So it's like, I say that to say that, like, because when we talk about like hate, I didn't hate Trudy. I wanted Trudy out of the picture, but I also had a certain amount of empathy for Trudy, because Trudy was being left behind, right?
She
And
was, and that was the
that was
reality of it.
that was
Yeah.
the reality. That was also what was best for Danny.
Yep.
um but Trudy was being left behind, and I thought that's got to be a pretty scary situation to find yourself in, when this friendship has been a serious,
Yep.
significant crutch for you.
It reminded me of Raji and Maisha, but just a little less volatile. That like you were my
Yeah, yeah,
crutch. You were my
yeah,
person. Like it was
yeah,
supposed to be me and you until the lights went out. And not only do you have this guy, but it's like the guy. It's
yeah,
so we can't even say he ain't shit. I mean, he wasn't in the beginning, but she didn't know that. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah,
but like it's one thing if it's Eric and it's just a regular old dude, and then maybe Eric has a friend and we just be regular old small town people together. Not that she would have been happy about Eric either, but it was like, bitch, you won. Like you won the lottery, and we sharing an apartment. She a dentist. I don't need to share an apartment with you. But like we literally was like crutches and joined at the hip, and you're taking yourself away from me. And while they may have had the language to get through, while you ain't wash the dishes, take out the trash, to have the language of like, I feel like I'm losing you,
yeah,
that's tough.
yeah.
That's tough. And
So that's
like,
why I
yeah,
couldn't hate her. Where
yeah,
I was just kind of like, and Trudy, and the other reason I think I could not hate Trudy, this goes back to like some of when we talked about some of the villains, right? Because Danny was clear on what was happening and why,
yeah,
and Danny never allowed Trudy to become destructive.
yeah,
I
yeah.
think that's the other part, right? Like
And she
Trudy
would
was
have
not,
had she let her.
she would have,
Hmm.
but Trudy was not allowed to become destructive. Where now, because we're rooting for the main characters, and that is Rand and Danny. And she never got to a point where she was being destructive to Danny.
Yeah,
And Danny was not like caught off guard by she was some of the remarks, but like she knew where it was coming from, and didn't allow Trudy to like overly poison, or destroy what she was building with Rand.
yeah. Did you want them to have a conversation to repair it all?
I didn't need it,
Okay.
right? Because I kind of felt like it was that Trudy could not go with her into the
That's
next
where, yep,
chapter,
yep, yep, yep,
right?
yep, yep.
So
Everybody can't go.
yeah, she just couldn't go with her to the next chapter. And I think the way that Nia left it, like Trudy was at the wedding, right?
Yeah.
Trudy's at the wedding,
And she had a
so
date.
she had a date, God bless her.
Hmm.
But it wasn't so I didn't feel like, oh man, because it's like, have
Right,
the conversation for what, right? They just kind of like drifted. And Danny, knowing for herself, like, okay, she can't come with me into this next chapter in the same way, which is why it was so nice that Jennifer, right, that she and SJ's fiance, then ex-fiance Jennifer, connect, because Danny needed someone who had greater familiarity with this new world, right?
right,
Even though
right,
Rand was a part of it, not as an athlete, but now as a commentator, Jennifer had at least that familiarity with that world.
right.
And that was what Danny needed for this next chapter, because Trudy just couldn't go with her. She just couldn't go with her.
No, she couldn't. She would have never known how to act. It just wasn't gonna work.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
I don't know if I didn't need a conversation where they broke it down, only because sometimes talking about it don't help.
yeah, yeah,
Like, how
yeah.
I feel is how I feel, and I
Yep.
am losing you, and you do live in this palatial place now, and you did, and I don't know that Trudy gaining more insight into Danny's life would have made things any better. Like, I
Right,
don't know that Trudy would have ever felt differently than she felt. And so, like you're saying, everybody can't go. It's not because there's something intrinsically wrong with that person. It's just that every environment ain't for everybody. And I don't know that Trudy would have ever understood that uh his public persona and his private life are different to me. And that he fuck up at home just like everybody else fuck up at home, but you don't get to hold him to a higher standard because he's famous.
right, right.
And she started doing that day one. um when she found out about them, and she just kind of put him in a category and labeled him and wrote him off. And I don't know that if I was in Danny's shoes, if I would have wanted her closer to me and having more information
Agreed.
about my life. Yeah.
Agreed. Because everything was going to be in the specter of,
Yes.
see, oh, I've been
Yes.
waiting for this shoe to drop, honey.
Yep. Yep. Yep.
Right.
Yep. Yep. Yep.
And like, again, she just couldn't go with her. She just
Yeah.
couldn't go with her.
Yeah.
And that can be, you know, painful to
For sure.
accept, when you realize that certain people just can't go with you where the next place you're going, right? That you
Yeah.
just can't take everyone with you. Um, but like I said, Trudy didn't get to the point where I was like, bitch, I need you. But she wasn't allowed to.
She
She just
wasn't
wasn't
allowed
allowed
to.
to.
She wasn't
She
allowed
wasn't
to.
allowed to.
Um, how do you feel about so wait, I thought it was hilarious. This is another thing that speaks to Danny's backbone. So she maintained her relationship with Eric, and when
Yes.
Rand meets Eric,
Yes. He said, oh, this
Eric's
is Mr. Complicated. You must be Mr.
I
Complicated.
loved it. I
Yes.
loved
Yes.
that she
Yes.
didn't immediately throw him away and go running back into Rand's arms, and that she was like, "No, this is my friend." Like, no, that Rand, Eric Rand. Like,
Right. Right.
and even though Rand is in his feelings and Eric is smirking because he thinks it's the funniest thing in the world, I
Yes.
still appreciated her. Like, um, by that point, it would have been very easy for her to take what he had been giving her and call it love.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
she was taking what he was giving her and she was calling it what it is.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. And
If
both of
yes.
them realizing, I just loved how it was done, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because as you're watching both of them realize, oh shit, this thing is undefined.
Yep.
And that means
Yep.
undefined, right?
Everybody can
That
do what they
means
want to do.
open to interpretation. So for him, he's like, on the one hand, I want to ask her, what the fuck is going on between us that you thought it was okay for you to go on a
Mm-hmm.
date? And on the other hand, she's thinking to herself, well, this man has, I feel like Rand picked up the tarnished penny and made it pretty. And here comes this other man who immediately saw the gold.
Yes. Yes, 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 yes,
But then
yes.
you see that evolve where she's like, now I realize I just like the attention. I didn't really want
Mm-hmm.
the man,
Mm-hmm.
and Rand, right, also realizing, well, you know, we didn't have the conversation about what we were. So of it makes sense that, she
Right.
would have interpreted it how she did, because we didn't have that conversation, and reflecting that in the past he avoided those kinds of conversations.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't want to have
Yep.
that kind of clarity because he wanted to be able to capitalize on moving how he moved
Mm-hmm.
and not having to deal with it. So it was like both of them realizing that this, what they thought was okay,
Mm-hmm.
in terms of it's still early, it's still new, we don't have to put a label on it. And now it's
Mm-hmm.
like, whoa, wait a minute now. So
Right.
there's a downside to this.
Yes.
Don't put a
Right.
label on
Right.
it.
Right. Before being undefined worked in my favor. Now, not
Yes,
so much.
yes, yes,
Yeah, because
yes.
I've turned to I found it, and he's trying to get her to come somewhere, and she's saying that she has to be home that Saturday or something, something,
It's
something.
going, helping him move up to Bristol.
Yes, helping him move. Yes.
Yeah.
And he says to himself, does she have a fucking date
Yes.
to
Yes. Yes.
like,
Yes. Like, excuse
but for her, it's like, I mean, yeah, I would, why wouldn't I?
me? Well, is she that? Because she was nervous about telling him.
I think she was,
Remember?
well, okay. So here's
She
my projection. Go ahead.
I mean, she was just nervous about telling him, but on the one hand, saying to herself, no, Danny, like, you're not doing anything wrong. What
Correct.
y'all got going on is undefined. So it's like
Correct.
she was having the internal conversation with herself, where on the one hand, she was like a little hesitant about being very transparent, like, yes, it's a date. I'm going with friend Eric, so on and so forth. Because he kind of has to like draw
He
that
has to pull
out
it
of
out of her.
her.
Yes, yes, yes.
But then on the other hand, she's like, well, wait a minute, I'm not doing anything wrong. Yes, yes,
Right.
I'm
Well, the
going on this date.
reason, right. The reason I say, oh, why wouldn't I, like all cavalier, is because I'm sure that's how she felt when he asked her. So
Yeah,
when Eric
yeah,
says you want to go get something to eat, like, oh yeah, well yeah, maybe I'll
yeah,
do. You know what I mean? But when
yeah,
Rand is when it's time for Rand to find out, it's like, now how am I?
yeah,
How am I
yeah.
gonna get around saying it without saying it or not saying it at all?
But
Um,
also, then she
yeah,
starts really
she
interrogating
does. Yes,
how she feels
yes,
about Eric, her motivation behind saying yes, how that whole thing played out. She interrogates it in a way that she did not when she
when she
said
said
yes.
yes. Yep.
And she almost was kind of like taking the easy way out. She's like, he's almost like a bulldozer, and he just like bowls me over. And
Mm-hmm.
before I know it, we've made plans. And it was like, Danny girl, stop.
Relax.
Right? It was like, come on now. And it's when she's confronted with navigating that with Rand's knowledge, then it's like, well, did I really want this? Like, what did I really want out of this? Why did I say yes? Which I thought was done in a way that it showed it wasn't that Danny was now backing down, but Danny was just getting more honest with herself about, why did I do that? Do I really want that, or do I want this man here?
Yeah.
And the answer was definitively, oh, I want this man here. And then of course his dumb ass went and fumbled it again with the Alexa thing, and just,
Yes.
and then they get clarity, they get the much needed clarity, but they had not yet had the conversation, right? So I felt like they were both right and they were both wrong, in a sense of they had not yet had the conversation. um and Rand was more dumb than she was, in a
Yeah.
sense of, it was like, bruh, really? They done had a mudslinging match right in front of you, and you still gonna go to this woman's house. And he didn't do anything inappropriate when he was there, right? Like, he tells us that it was actually productive for him professionally, right?
Yes.
In the connections that he made, and some of like the real deal conversations that he had with some coworkers that gave good perspective on his stance on taking the knee. But it was still just like, bruh,
Yeah. No,
of
that's real.
all the things.
Oh, what a
Going
dummy.
back to your point about like these highs and these lows, because it's like they navigate that, they get past his past, right? The baby is not his, they get engaged, now they're pregnant, and it's like, okay. And then the last till they navigate is his dead wife's his mother-in-law, his
Yeah.
former mother-in-law,
Yeah.
who and the specter of faith that she brings to the
Yep.
house, because she just comes to visit to drop Rocket off. Danny is building this beautiful relationship with Rocket, right?
And
He is
he
starting.
calls her mommy.
Yes, I was gonna say he starts calling her mommy, and you are just a pile of goo on the
Yes.
inside. You're like, oh, that's so adorable.
Yes.
And she's pregnant with their child, and so they have their family, and they're rocking
Mm-hmm.
and rolling. And Faith's mother comes to Pennsylvania to bring Rocket home
Mm-hmm.
from a family trip, because one of the other things we learn is that Rand had been keeping Rocket from Faith's parents, and as he was in his cocoon,
Yep.
her parents were some of the collateral damage on that. So they have not really had the kind of relationship with their grandson that they would have wanted. And now they're building that.
Mm-hmm.
But what is supposed to be a quick in and out visit turns into a prolonged stay, turns into Eva basically serving as the doula for the
Yes,
birth
child.
child because it's an emergency, birth, and Rand gets into a car accident, and
I'm
Eva's got to
telling
be the
you.
one that comes in the room. And it was a lot. And I remember when you were messaging me about it, and we were both like, oh, the
So
awkwardness.
awkward.
It was so awkward. Like, you
So
could not
awkward.
help but cringe for everyone, right?
Yes. 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 Yes.
Like,
I mean,
this
and
is so icky.
right. But even how it happens, the mom falls down the stairs. She's
Oh
supposed to stay with her
my
friend.
god.
The friend
Yes.
house is too small, and she getting ready to be on the couch. This lady in her 50s or 60s somewhere getting ready to sleep on somebody pull out couch with a bar on her back like it's 1986.
Yes.
And so then Danny is like, hey, just come on back to the crib. This ain't gonna work. Come on back to the
Right.
crib.
But she
So
feels pressured, right? Because she's
yes,
like, I'm
yes.
in the situation, and how do I
How do I
tell
leave
her
you
to stay
here?
here? Yes.
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 Yes. And I actually thought she was gonna be like, well, can we put you in a hotel? Can we get you a nurse? But
That's what I thought.
yes, yes. But she takes her back to the house. And so now like she's having to participate in the care of this woman to some degree. And so they end up in the kitchen talking. They end up
Yep.
picking up the baby. They almost form this not a friendship, but they form some kind of quasi relationship
Yes.
that slowly. But and it is, I say quasi because Faith's dad never uh
Correct.
never gets on board. It
Right.
never becomes one big happy anything, even
Yes.
down to the child being born in the wedding, that he
Yes.
like, nah, he was at the crib. He was like, nah, I can't make
Yeah. He said, I'm not coming to your
like, I'm
wedding
not gonna be able to do it
at the house that my
at the
daughter
house where
used
my
to live
daughter
in with you.
lived,
Yeah.
where she
Yeah.
ran out of there and ended up
Yeah.
dying.
Yeah.
Like, come on now.
I'm not gonna be able to do it. Yep.
No, 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 no. I'm not even sure I wish y'all the best. So I'm gonna
Yeah.
just keep my mouth shut.
Right. Right. He's like, I'll just not attend.
I just
That'll be
won't be there.
fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
But it was so, because in all of this, right, Rand and Danny are both projecting onto Eva,
yes.
because we're never in Eva's head, so all we
Right.
get from Eva is dialogue and actions, right?
Hmm.
And for just purely looking at the dialogue and the actions, you're not getting the judgment, the this new woman in my daughter's
Right.
house with my grandson and my
Right.
former son-in-law. But Danny and Rand's projection is so
Yes.
realistic. Like, you
Yes.
get it, because everyone would feel that way in that situation. Rand is walking around with all of this guilt, knowing that Faith used to share with Eva his antics, some measure of his antics. And so knowing, feeling like Eva's looking at him like, you ain't never been shit. And here you done moved on, and you got this woman
Uh-huh.
playing mama to my grandson as if my daughter never existed.
Doing
And
for
of
her
course,
what you should have been doing for mine.
exactly. And of course, Danny feeling like, oh my God, this woman seeing me mother her grandson. It was
Mm-hmm.
all of that. It was so potent. It was so powerful. And so beautifully done, right?
Yep.
Because you're like, we really want these three people to find their way through this, and then not necessarily have to be around each other that often.
Ever again. Right. Because at some point I forget what's happening, but he like, I want to out. Get her out of here.
Yes,
It's like,
yes.
no, that is not what we're talking about. But two things really quick, and then we can rapid fire the questions because I'm not sure what time you have to pick up your supervisor. But the the first thing is how interesting it is for him for him to know what it feels like for the other person's phone to ring. So
Mm.
in the Eric timeline, in that period of time when her phone rings and they're in the car somewhere and he like, who is that? You know what I'm saying? He looking over
Right,
trying to see whose name is on.
right,
Mind your business. But that for him, that's the first time that he actually cared who was on somebody else's phone and
right,
got a
right.
taste of what that feels like, you know, to have that experience. The other thing that I wanted to ask about is how did you feel about putting having Little Rocket have those issues?
I thought it added another layer of richness to this whole story.
Yeah.
Because had she left it at Rand is trying to figure out how to be this single father, right, of a child whose mother is dead, and all while he is getting himself together mentally and emotionally and dealing with his accountability, but finding a way to move forward for his role in what happened with Faith.
Mhm.
He has this child who is both the constant reminder of Faith and also this little human being that he is responsible for,
Yep.
right? And starting to figure out how he takes, as you noted, since Freya was doing the bulk of the parenting, starting to really step into being a full-fledged father
Mhm.
and not continuing to rely so heavily on his sister. And also when Freya and Danny require him to start stepping up with that situation, not just kind of transferring his reliance from Freya to Danny. Because we knew from the move to Bristol, he would have absolutely very smoothly moved into that for everything
Yeah.
had Danny not put a stop, like an actual stop to it, to be like, we, Freya, you and I have to both stop spoiling him.
Mhm.
Let him stand on his own 2 feet. And so I thought that the behavioral um, uh, issues that they needed to navigate with Rocket, it was important because that was the way for us as the reader to see Rand understanding and fully stepping into being the father, the best father that he could be to Rocket,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
right? Moving into a more healed space. And as a part of that, recognizing that he had growing to do if he was going to be the best father that he could be for Rocket. And that meant dealing with this very uncomfortable thing that he felt such tremendous guilt around,
Mhm.
and he was avoiding it.
Yeah.
He was avoiding it because of the guilt,
He
I
was,
thought.
and it also brought to mind for me like um in addition to what you've been saying is how it feels to be the primary parent
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
because and I think it was well illustrated when nobody's available and
Yep,
they call Danny.
yep,
But for him, Faith had the baby or Freya had the baby.
yep,
And he was willing and dealing. He was doing what he got ready to do, you know, whatever. And once Faith was gone, not that he was up and about, but it was that she was picking the baby up so that he wouldn't be in the dark all day.
yes,
Because Rand wasn't turning the lights on. Like,
yes,
and she was picking him up so that he would get hugs and kisses and cookies and Easter baskets and you know what
yes,
I'm saying? Because Rand was not on that.
yep,
And so and falling into because I'm not saying it was malicious, but I think you can fall into the routine of
yep,
the other parent doing it.
absolutely. And not to step into a gender stereotype, but right,
Yeah.
men, it is easier, candidly, for men to do that than for women
Mhm.
because of the way society has defined the gender roles and even the way that employers conduct
Yep.
themselves, social activities, all of that,
Yep.
right? Where, it is that is the dynamic. So
Yes.
him slipping into that required zero thought. And then, going back to the dynamic between he and Freya, because Freya had been his parent, right?
Yes.
Freya had been his
Yes.
parent.
Yes.
And because she already had 2 sons, like
Mhm.
query, so it was like, this is one more boy,
Right.
one more
And you
boy.
know, I loved Freya's husband.
Yes,
Um
Garrett.
Garrett. And there were two scenes that I really liked from him. And it might be the main two scenes that he talks, but one of them is Rand's flashback where they're buying stuff for him to go away to
Yes,
school,
where he
and
checked him.
he
Yep.
yes, and he acting up and he irritated, and Garrett throw him into the trash compactor. He choked the boy up and throw
Right.
him against the wall somewhere,
Right.
and say, "She is hurt. I'll slap the shit."
Yep.
Like,
He's like, I
your
will
sister
push you
is
right through
hurting.
this wall.
Right. Your sister is hurting. She is processing you leaving her. You are her first baby. You leaving the nest. If you don't figure out how to be nice to her, that's it. It's it. Listen.
Yep.
Like, and then the other one was when they were talking about um sort of like life stuff. Like
Yeah.
he's
Yeah.
asking him what he should do, and they're kind of like trying to hash situation out, and he's got his take on it. But I just appreciated him as being like there for Rand, a model, a role model for him, and somebody who could be his outlet. And I think it's easy to forget, and we've talked about it when we talked about other athletes in some of these books, but how lonely that space is,
Yes.
and
Yes.
how, and Meg the Stallion talked about this, like how there was a period, and when she first came out, and like all of the things were first happening for her, and then I think at some point her grandmother died, so I think was her primary parent.
Yep.
She was like, I didn't know who to talk to or who to believe.
Yeah.
Like everybody, and yeah, you're my agent, but what's in it for you? And yeah, you're
Yep.
my manager, but what's in it for you? And yeah,
Yep.
you're my, and this idea that when you're in that rarefied air,
Yep.
there's nobody to trust. But at the same time, the people who you left who care the most about you don't know the answer either.
Yeah. Yeah.
Garrett couldn't tell him what he was supposed to do in the face of all of these opportunities and glitz and glamour and
Right.
whatever. And
Right.
we see that with SJ, with the baby is no, they don't have a kid. He go by SJ, right? They didn't have a baby, no.
No, but
Um
yeah. Yeah.
SJ, and you
Jennifer.
know, go ahead, what were you gonna say?
No, I was just the fiance's name.
Yes, of him, not knowing how to keep it in his pants. And Danny says, and so he trying to sell Danny this bill of goods
Yep.
that I'm sure he's heard every other guy say, which is, I can't help it. When they all around you, it's hard to say no. It's hard to minimize the distractions. And she says, no, no, yes, you know, you know how to do that. Like, and this is what I do as a therapist all the time, which is remind people of their transferable skills. And
You know,
so, go ahead.
what was interesting about that, because I agree with all that you said. The one thing I would say is that Danny, when he had her go on the field trips, let's call them,
Mm-hmm.
with him, then Danny gets an understanding that on the one hand, she is right. On the other hand, so is he. Right. That they both made valid points, because you can see when Danny is like, when they are just talking about how the women are everywhere and it's just so easy, Danny is still like, Negro, if you want to keep it in, you can. But then when she goes with him, and I think it's an event in like DC or something,
Mm-hmm.
and she sees for herself, and they're on the way back to Pennsylvania or wherever they're going, and she has that moment where she's kind of like, yeah, I got it, but I didn't really get it until I saw it, right? That the level of attention and the aggressiveness and the determination that these men are constantly encountering, it still goes down to self-control. It still boils down to making a choice, right? But he also was not exaggerating when he was telling her that it is everywhere all the time. Blink, don't even have to, it is
Right.
literally everywhere. And I think that she realizes she might not have fully appreciated that until she saw it for herself. And she's like, she's like, you still need
She
to be
did.
exercising self-control.
But what
But
I was what I was trying to figure out in that was, yes, the women are always available, perpetually available. It don't matter what you do. Don't matter even what line of work you in. If you have the kind of power and resources, and what
yep,
I mean is, it don't have to be sports. It could be anything.
yep,
Because women are people, not even just women. People are interested in money, access, and power. But what I was wondering while I was reading, which is why your read of it is probably more the face of what was offered, and for me, I'm still trying to dig what might not be there, because
mm-hmm,
I'm like, well, is it easy because they know you're a hoe, or is it easy because like, so yes, like, so for like Rand, so when Rand talks about the woman that, like, basically she was a sex worker, but like not for real, but for real, but not for real,
mm-hmm,
like, in, her company
Monica, I think is her
Monica, her
name.
company in exchange for basically maintaining her lifestyle, and Danielle being like, "Ew, what? And what now? Why?" But like for SJ, I felt like these women know you're gonna say yes. Now, yes, they do tap on everybody's shoulder, that's for sure. But like to me, you just is low hanging fruit. So maybe
I
that's
think it's a combination of the
both
two,
and okay. Okay.
because I just think about, and not that I've had that much proximity, but like my nephews both, one plays Division 1 basketball, and it's
Yeah,
and
everybody
he's
trying to get
still at the
pregnant.
collegiate level,
Yeah,
right? He's a good looking kid, but like, so
I got you.
right, I think at the end of the day, that's why he does. I'm not giving SJ a pass, because at the end of the day, it's still about a choice.
Yeah.
But it is a level, the intensity of it, I think, is something that the majority of us will never understand.
Mm-hmm.
Most will never have exposure to, and I think the celebrity piece of it is different from just someone who you can tell they have some money,
Yeah.
because those people still have the ability to be low key when
Right.
everybody doesn't know what they look like,
Right.
so they have the ability to kind of turn it off. Um whereas a insert name of celebrity,
Right. Right. Right.
right,
Right.
it's
Right.
different. Literally, there is no more going to Target within an expectation of people not recognizing you, because you've basically reached a level where you should expect to be recognized everywhere.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, and that, going back to SJ just for a slightly different point, because when Rand is thinking about, like right after Jennifer does her ghost move and ends things with SJ, and Rand runs into SJ like for the first time after all of that has happened, and he's looking rough, right?
Mm-hmm.
He's looking, and Rand is like, I recognize it because I know.
Yep.
And he's like, I know what will transpire after this, right? He will get himself on the circuit where now he is fucking freely and,
Mm-hmm.
unabashed and without conscience or worry. But it will be a while down the road before he realizes that he has just lost his last chance
Mm-hmm.
at
It's something
holding
real.
on,
Yeah.
at something real. And I thought it was also a semblance of who he used to be
Yep.
before all of this took over.
Yep.
Right. And I think that's something else that most of us will just never understand, this notion of losing who you were, because we lose who you were, right? But I can't imagine being surrounded by that kind of maelstrom of people and things and access and activities and all of this
Mm-hmm.
stuff
Mm-hmm.
that takes you away from who you knew yourself to be up to that point.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
So
he says, seeing SJ on the game circuit, he looks like a man who's living the life. Great
yeah.
stats, good health, and probably another 5 solid years of playing time. Even though he's still pretty young, the words Hall of Fame sometimes get mentioned along with his name. But there is no way I would trade anything he has for what I've got. He
Hmm.
might be too dumb to know it right now, but I think when he lost Jennifer, he probably lost his last chance to hold on to what's real.
Yeah. Yeah.
And but SJ knew that going in. He
But
knew,
I
but
think
he didn't
Rand's
know.
point,
You know what
yeah,
I
I think
mean?
Rand's point is he knew on the
Yeah,
surface.
no, I'm agreeing with you. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, but
Because it's
he
yeah.
don't really he
Mm-mm.
gonna feel it a couple of years from now.
Well, yeah,
Um,
like like I think either before this or after this, he talks about what is, and we've seen that like on in film and in books too. You in a room full of people and you don't know nobody and don't nobody know you.
yeah, yeah.
And they all in your house and you footing the bill and
Yep, yep,
everybody's having the time of their lives
yep.
but you,
And you're lonely.
and you're lonely.
Yeah,
And you would give anything, like,
yep,
like he's saying, to be
to
able
get it
to go
back.
back to the exact moment
Hmm.
and keep her from lining them credit cards up in a row
Yep,
and sending that email.
yep. It was like peace.
Cause
Yeah,
she done blocked him on everything. She done told her whole family to block him on everything.
yep.
And then she unblocked him. He was calling her 15 times a day. Um, and I wondered, like I always put myself in like people's shoes. It feel real good to feel like somebody recognizes what they did wrong.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I know she knew he didn't know. He just didn't like that she left him, but he wasn't going to change.
He wasn't going, like, he knew, but he wasn't going to change.
Yeah.
That's the point, right? At the
Yeah.
end of the day, he wasn't going to change. So as because I think he genuinely, probably loved her and wanted to be like
Oh
he said.
yeah.
I don't
Oh
think he was
yeah.
lying to
No.
himself in that respect. And there are plenty of men who are like, cheating on you and loving you are not mutually
Yeah.
exclusive,
I
right? And,
love you. That's why I lie.
yeah, exactly. And you're like, nigga, if you don't get out my face,
This don't line up.
this knife in your chest is what's going to happen next time.
Right, for
but
sure.
but knowing that he didn't want to lose her, but he was not prepared to stop doing what he was doing. So no, it kind of is what it is, and here we are. And also recognizing that for her, when she tells Danny, she's like, look, I know that this sounds cliche or sounds stupid, but he was the best boyfriend. He was the best fiance. He treated me well. I felt
Yep.
respected and
Yep. Yep.
loved
Yep.
and valued and cherished, all of those things. I had no idea that he was doing any of this,
Yeah. That's gotta
so
hurt.
that has got to just, woof.
Whew.
I mean, that was like, and these are, mind you, right? These are two side characters,
Yeah, but it
but
hit me hard.
it hit hard. It definitely hit hard. You were just like, oh, poor
Yeah,
baby.
it hit hard because, I think having known people who have dealt with infidelity in their marriages or in their long-term relationships, like, and I've seen it a couple different ways. I've seen it where she knew something was going, she or he, but usually she knew something was going on, and was looking for the proof.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen it where people have an inkling of something that's going on, but they acting like it's not. And the
Mm-hmm.
unspoken thing between me and you as friends is that if you have some information, you keep it to yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And I've seen it where, it blew up in everybody's face. Like I've
Yeah.
seen all kinds of different iterations of it. But the one
Yeah.
to me that hurts the most is the one where nobody had any idea. And there's a trend on TikTok where the woman says, and sometimes it's a man, but it's more often a woman, things my boyfriend did to me while he was cheating. And so this one woman posted, while he was cheating on me, he bought me a house. He asked me
Mm-hmm.
to marry him. He
Mm.
I told him I wanted, and the house was brand new, beautiful, built from the ground up. And she said, I happened to mention that I regretted that we didn't get a closed in porch. She said, I went to see my sister and I came home and the porch was closed in.
Mm.
Like, took me to Dubai, blindfolded me, and I woke up and look up and we in the airport. Like, so when the person can love you, and no, that's
Yeah.
how you end up on Snap.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's how you end up on Snap. Treat me
Yeah.
terrible. At least, you know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
Yeah.
Don't be good to me.
Yeah.
Oh no, honey. We're gonna end up on the news. Don't worry, we'll be
Yeah.
on the news. I don't want you to worry about it. The story will get told. I don't know who gonna tell it, but the story gonna get
Oh
told.
my goodness, I can't. I can't.
Story gonna get told. And I'm just gonna learn my own particular set of skills on the inside.
Oh God.
That's all I'm gonna do. I'm
I
gonna figure
can't.
I'm gonna figure out how to thrive and survive. Okay.
Ma'am, this is feeling a little too close to home now. Is it
I'm just
just
telling you what I know. Oh, please know in advance, Mr. Honesty. We gonna be on the news. We gonna be on the news because I told him a long time ago. Tell me up front. Don't surprise me. Don't surprise me. Tell me up front. Say, hey, if we've had a good run, I'm ready to move on. Don't pop up with no madness, because then I'm going to act like I know how to act. If you act good to me, I'll act good to you. So if you tell me up front, cool. We'll split everything down the middle. We'll move on with our lives. If you act up, I'm going to act up too. And I promise you, I'm going to win.
what I have long told my better half is I don't know how I would react.
That's
and and
terrifying.
and that is what should concern you, because I might be very upset, emotional, but agree to work it through and forgive. I might not be emotional and say, I want a divorce, we need to just go our separate ways, God bless. I might flip the fuck out
Mm-hmm.
and be full blown snapped up in this motherfucker.
Listen.
And because as I sit here, right, whenever I'm saying this to him, I'm like, because in this calm moment, I cannot tell you what my reaction would be.
Mm-hmm.
That means there is as likely a chance of any of the three reactions because I don't know how I would react. And that's what should
Child.
concern you. He'll say, well, you wouldn't want to, you would never jeopardize your career. And
Who wouldn't?
well, but people have done it.
People have done it.
People have done it. And so as highly as I think of myself, I must acknowledge that they call it snap for a reason.
Snap for a reason.
Because folks take a complete break from reality
Mm-hmm.
and bad things happen.
Mm-hmm.
So I just, I think one of the three. One of the three reactions.
Yeah,
If you
no, that's
want to
real.
take that chance and roll the dice and
Be my
hope,
guest.
right? Hope that it's A or B as opposed to C. Well,
Right. Do it. Listen. Hey,
yeah,
roll a dice.
yeah,
If you're
yeah,
feeling lucky. No, yeah,
indeed,
that's real.
indeed.
And I
So
think that's why her story, just even as an ancillary character, I was like, girl, I get it. I get it. I understand. And I feel awful for you because like we just said, like if you how you gonna be good to me and dog me out? Like
yeah,
that's not
yeah,
gonna work. And so
yeah,
now I have to make an example out of you.
yeah.
Like
And give credit where credit is due. Obviously this is a fictional character, but thinking about the fortitude that it took
yeah,
to make the decision to walk away, right?
absolutely.
Because for clearly he was skillful enough with that
Hmm.
one misstep that led to his downfall. He was skillful enough
The
to
cell
keep it
phone
hidden from
bill.
her. Yeah, it
Yep.
was just ridiculous. It was like, bruh.
Yep.
Um, but the lifestyle, the love, the familiarity, all of those things to say, I cannot forgive this. I cannot turn blind eye to this. I am not going to give you the opportunity to try and lie and convince me that it won't happen again. We're just done.
Yeah, we're just
We're just
done.
done. We're just done. I'm just closing this chapter because
Yeah.
there are women who are not with celebrities that find it impossible to do that. They
It's
just can't
true.
bring themselves to do that, right? So
It's true.
imagine where all of the material needs are taken care of, but this is why you don't give short shrift to the mental and emotional, but he was tending to those too,
Right. Right.
as far as she knew,
Yep.
and to say, but I can't deal with this, and so I'm gonna walk away and not
Yeah.
allow you to beg me
Right.
to get back in, because she does end up blocking him and just
Hmm.
staying away from him, and it is what it is.
Yeah. And some people don't learn.
That too. And
Some
like
people don't
we knew
learn.
he was going, we knew he was not going to change. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
just acknowledging to herself that it wasn't going to result in meaningful change. It would just be, now he would be cheating in peace, so to
Right.
speak,
Right. 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 Right.
which she couldn't abide. So,
Nobody could have batted child because I would have tried to figure out how to find her in the imaginary realm and shook her. Girl,
well,
you don't.
but there are, and I think at that level, there are actually, I've always been of the opinion, this is taking us back now, that with Tiger Woods and his ex-wife, I have always been of the opinion that it wasn't the cheating, it was getting caught
Yeah.
publicly,
When did we talk?
right?
We
So that
talked about that in offensive formation.
maybe that's what it was, right?
Yes,
Yeah,
I
that it
completely
was
agree
the
with you.
embarrassment of it, right? That it
Yes,
was the, you were so sloppy that now everyone knows what should have stayed
which is
between
important.
us.
Which is important.
And I think that that's a concession that probably many
That's
women at
important.
that level make, where it's like, I'm not going to expend energy trying to get you to not do it, but I expect you to be
Be
discreet.
discreet. Yeah. And
Yeah,
it is unrelated in terms of because they were on a break. But being with someone that there's some lasting evidence, like
indeed.
Gabrielle
Gabrielle
Union
Union,
and
yep, and Dwayne Wade. Yeah,
um, you know, and her deciding like, well, it is what it is. I still love him. We
yeah.
gonna make it work.
We'll work through this. Yeah,
And which is one calculus, and the other is it's any number of things that people permutations of that people end up doing. But that one also struck me because she took a lot of heat for that.
yeah,
She took a lot of heat for for them getting back together, because it wasn't
Yeah.
even her taking him back. They weren't together.
Right.
But people, and I think on the internet it's really easy for us. I would never, like, you don't know what you would do. That man has $1 kajillion. Okay.
I also think that people did not believe
That they were
that they
actually
were
on
on
a
a break.
break. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
I
because
think
they didn't
people
publicize
believe,
it. Yes.
right. People believe that that was the story they concocted
Yeah.
to make it more acceptable for her image.
Yeah. But
Um,
I didn't, that to me wouldn't have been necessary because, Hollywood, everybody doing it to everybody all the time. So they didn't need to tell that particular lie.
I kind of thought actually, I thought to myself that was plausible if that was the strategy.
Okay.
Because I think that she was steadily building a nice brand for herself, not like
Oh, but it was
woman
empowerment stuff though.
empowerment,
Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
not like hardcore, but she was building a
It was in
brand for
there.
that.
Yeah,
Right.
you're
And it
right.
makes me think of, for example, when you mess with your image and your brand, I feel
Yeah,
look, Alicia Keys has never recovered.
true.
Alicia Keys' brand has never recovered from what happened, even though the three of them are now in a beautiful,
And be going on
wonderful
vacations and shit.
co-parenting throuple situation, God
Hmm.
bless them. But her brand never recovered from being a woman that had positioned herself as woman empowerment, girl
Yeah,
empowerment.
yeah,
But you fuck this woman's husband that you knew
yeah,
her,
yeah,
you knew her as this man's wife. You went to their baby shower and you fucked
yeah,
her husband.
yeah.
So when it came time to do some hoe shit,
You was
woman,
ready.
I am a superwoman.
That girl
Got
on fire, all right. She
Yeah.
hunting to
Oh yeah.
kill.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. On fire and sleep with your husband. So, and her brand has never recovered from that. So I
That's
think
true.
there was just a probably, if that's the route that Gabrielle Union went, it was us being broken up and him sleeping with this woman and getting her pregnant is one thing. Me staying with him, we're not married, and he got this woman pregnant on me.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
That was such an amateur move, him getting her pregnant. You are a big damn dummy.
Well, men are dumb.
Oh my God, that
Men
was
are dumb.
so stupid.
Men are dumb. Like most of the decisions in the world
And
that
he
go
wasn't,
wrong.
it's not even like he was new to the game. He was not a freshman player when that
Nope.
happened. And I was like, you
Nope.
are a big fucking dummy.
And
Like,
if I remember correctly, right, the baby mama, I think at some point either explicitly or implicitly put out there that there was no break. They had been messing with each other off and
the
on while
whole
he was with
time, yeah,
Gabrielle. And so
sure.
this notion that it was a break, it wasn't a break,
Yeah.
he was cheating. And they, put up that united front, was like, no, 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 that's not what it is. I'm sure the check, they added a zero and she shut her mouth and stopped
Yeah.
talking about it.
Yeah.
And that was all there was to it. So
Yeah. Gosh, the lives of
yeah.
these people. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. So
Back to Rand and our girl Danny. We can go through the questions. Who did you love?
I
Who or
mean,
what? Whatever.
I love them all. I loved everything about these
Yeah, me
stories.
too.
Like these are one of my comfort read. The novellas are one of my go-to comfort reads. I probably have read this of Nia's catalog, this story more than any of her other stories, all of which are excellent. But this one, there's just something about these two that just calls to me over and over and over again. And
Hmm.
every time I read it, it is as enjoyable. I'm one of those people. I like knowing the ending never ruins the experience for me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, me
And
either.
I just revisit them at least once a year. I feel like I am rereading this story about these two, and each time I'm going through the emotions. I'm like, Rand, you big dummy, Daniel, girl, why you doing that? Yeah, all of that, experiencing
Yeah.
it as if I don't know what is
What's
coming
happening?
next
Yeah.
and how it plays out. So I loved it all. I really did.
Yeah, I did too. Um yeah, I loved it all. I have my favorite people, but overall, I'm definitely going to. I know I have other homework because there's other people I'm supposed to read, so we can have a season full of non-repeats as close as we can get to it. But I I'm definitely going to read more of her work for sure.
Mm-hmm.
And she has an extensive catalog, so I'm gonna
Yes,
have to
she
figure out
does.
how to get that
I will
done.
be
But
your guide. I will help you out.
yeah, mainly because I'm when it comes, for the most part, for authors, I'm a completionist and I like to read their whole catalog. I tackle the backlist, but her backlist is tackling there's no small feat. So I'm
Yeah.
like, what how we gonna work it through? Because
Yes.
she
Yes.
been writing.
Yes.
Yeah, okay. So who or what did you hate?
I didn't hate anyone. And honestly, I think we've covered the things that, for even if I didn't use the word hate, right? The
Hmm.
things that I did not like, and I was just like, oh, come on. They were the obvious things. They really were, right?
Yeah,
In terms of how some of the things played out. But even hate, I feel like was a strong word only because it was like it got corrected sooner rather than later, right? So
yeah,
obviously hated the Alexa situation, but that got resolved um as it needed to get resolved, and definitively, right? Hated the police stop because it just conjured up my own memories and experiences
for
of being
sure.
in the car with my husband and being pulled over, and the fear of that
Yes,
comes through the
yes,
page,
yes,
right?
yes, yes.
Of knowing how that can go. But that was really it. I did, like I said, I didn't, going back to like Trudy, I didn't, it never rose to the level of hate for her because she wasn't allowed to be destructive. So
Yeah.
I didn't have to expend that much energy on her.
The hate for me was his initial reaction to her wanting to adopt Rocket. I was just like, oh
I
no,
didn't hate it, but I was just kind of like, this is what I said to myself was, oh, this is all bad.
this
This is
is
all bad.
bad.
I
This
was
is
like, this is all
stupid.
bad, right?
Yeah.
This is all bad. But I didn't hate it. It was just like, oh, this is just not going to go well. This is not going to go
Yeah,
well.
I was just like, no, dummy,
Yeah.
God,
Yeah.
no. Like, I just
Yeah.
wanted to knock him in the head. Um, because, uh, and yes, evil was there and there was a lot going on, but still, no, like,
Yeah.
this is
Yeah.
not how you do this. And how it made her feel. And it was quite a while before they actually got to talk about it. And
Yeah.
so it kind of stewed in the air, which is another, there were a couple different things that stewed, and I liked it because we don't talk about everything as soon as it happens.
Right. Right.
And so I liked that I could see them. You still interact with your partner. You
Yep.
still figure out what you're going to eat for dinner, and the clothes
Yep.
get washed and the kids get dropped off. But it's something that ain't being said,
Yep.
and that eventually y'all going to have to come back around to it. And then with them, there was the added salt of
Yes.
him going to Connecticut
Yes. Yes.
and what it feels like that I'm here at your house with
Yep.
your baby,
Yep.
taking care of shit for you, and
Yep.
you ain't sure.
Yep.
Boy, I slapped anyway.
But I would say on that, in fairness to Rand, when they did like both from his internal dialogue, where it's like
His reasoning was sound. Yeah.
and she wasn't the only one feeling very out of sorts and
Yes.
weird and awkward about the whole
Yes.
situation,
Yes.
right? And so it wasn't just Rand being like, yeah, no, I don't think that's a good idea. But
Correct.
like we get to hear and feel from him that he was like, oh, wow, wait, hold
Her
on.
mama is downstairs. You want me to
Yeah.
act like she didn't exist and her mama is in my house?
So it was like
Like,
for the same reasons that motivated her to blurt it out and say it when
correct.
she did,
Correct.
were
Correct.
the same reasons and conditions that he reacted the way that he did.
Yeah.
So I gave them both grace on that, because I was like, well, this was not the time to really make that ask, and then of course that was not
No.
the right answer, so it was just bad. It
No.
was just bad. It
Ugh.
was just bad.
It was
Yeah.
icky, icky,
Yeah, it was
icky,
icky.
icky. Did anything surprise you?
I think so.
Yeah.
Nothing is coming to mind that it was like, oh, well, that was a surprise. No, right? It felt like things, as things continued to unfold as a reader, I was like, yeah, yeah, that's exactly how it should
Yeah.
go. That's exactly how I would have
Yeah, for
written it, so
sure.
to speak,
Yeah,
right?
for sure.
Like,
I
it's almost like
think
I thought of it myself.
right. I think the thing that surprised her that didn't surprise me, but I was kind of living in all of it dawning on her, is when Melanie shows up when she's shopping for a dress,
Yes, yes,
because
yes,
she's small town naive.
yes,
She don't know that you're supposed to watch your back and that everybody smiling don't
yes.
mean you well.
That's right. That's right.
And so she recognizes this woman from the night before, and
Yep,
Rand was cordial to
yep,
her. And
yep.
so she doesn't read this woman as a threat at all.
Nope, Nope.
And it's not until the story gets told that she's like, wait, she was so
Yeah.
nice to me.
Yeah.
Like, what? And the realization that, like, oh, I'm legitimately in a different world.
Yeah. And out
There
of my
are
depth.
different rules, there are different
Yeah.
players. This is a different game, and I
Yeah.
am ill prepared.
Yeah. Yeah. And kind of being like, why would you spend half the day with
Yes.
me? Like the sick thinking to herself, what kind of sick game it is?
Yes.
Oh, let me spend it because she not mentioned Melanie's name to Rand, it would have never, it's not like Melanie dropped any bombs on her. It's not like at the end of the night, Melanie was like, oh, by the way, bitch, I fucked your man.
Right.
See if ESPYs.
Right.
Melanie was perfectly pleasant. They had a great chit chat, great time shopping and lunch and drinking some
Yes.
wine.
Yes. Yes.
She would have
Yes.
never
Yes.
known,
Yes.
So of course Danny is like, what is wrong with these people? Which is a
Yes.
legitimate question
Which is
because you're just
right.
like,
And it's like when you get into that world, which I have not been in at
yeah,
all
yeah,
in any meaningful sense. But when you get into that world and it is a different reality. It is
yeah,
unlike anything that a normal person will ever, 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 ever experience.
yeah,
And you have to live in it for a long time before it even begins to. So it's not even like if you like you having a even like I guess what I'm trying to say is even if it's a sibling, even if you're the assistant,
you're adjacent. Even if you're
it
adjacent,
doesn't matter
yeah,
how
yeah,
close you are to it.
yeah,
It is
yeah,
not until it is your personal life
yeah,
as the name, as the
yeah,
brand,
yeah,
that like you really get it. Because all of these other people, the security guards, the except for Beyonce's, because we all know who he is, but the security guards, the assistants, the people who deliver the flowers, the people who cook the food,
yep,
they can all go to Target and no one
yep,
knows.
yep, yep,
Like you were saying earlier, they can all go get their feet done.
yep,
But like this man is in a room full of people and everybody in the room knows who's been with who and
yep,
who is a roller and who like, and she just oblivious looking at the lights.
yep,
And this woman makes it her business. Now maybe she happens upon her, but then makes it, because she maybe happened to be shopping too, but she recognizes her.
yep,
And like you're saying, she spent a whole half a day with this lady, wasted a whole 4 or 5 hours, 6 hours
yep.
just to get the tea on somebody that she not sleeping with. I mean, like, I was like, this is crazy. And I'm sure,
And
like, and to her, it was.
helped her pick out, right, endorse an outfit that was flattering. So she wasn't
Yes.
catty. She wasn't
Yes.
petty.
Yes.
Nothing. There was
Yes.
every reason for Danny to be like, "Oh, I may have made a new friend,"
Which is what
and,
she said. Yes.
and he's
And
like, "No,
yes.
babe, no,
No, you did not.
no."
And then the embarrassment
Yes,
of him having to disclose what the
yes,
situation really was.
yeah,
Because, you
yeah.
know, he wasn't going to say nothing about none of that.
No. Like
She
he
was
had given
never going to
her,
know.
he's like, I gave you the high level
Exactly.
Rand was a fuck boy story. I was not going to get in the
No,
details
baby, you was not
where
going to get the nitty gritty.
right, the girl Melanie, and then of course that gets compounded with Raina and the
Yes.
surprise, you may have
Surprise.
a 3-year old.
Daughter.
So yeah, it was a lot. All of that was just, I really do hope, some folks decide to pick it up because I just think that
It's
they
very
will
good.
enjoy it the way that we did.
For
There's so
sure.
much in it where you're just like, oh, and we have not, we've, with as much as we've talked about it, as much as we've
Oh,
covered,
there's a whole lot we're not saying.
right,
Yeah,
right, where you're just kind of like, dun, dun, dun. But
for
it wasn't
sure.
like like you said, it wasn't like, it was like bombs were being dropped and yet like the earth was shaking and yet it was happening in such a way that you were like, oh.
Yeah, 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 for sure. For sure. Who needed to be stabbed?
I mean, I don't think there's anyone that needs to be stabbed that we have not already
Yeah, I
identified,
don't think so either.
right?
I'm trying to think.
Um,
No, Raina was a mess. Melanie was a mess. SJ was a mess. Rand
yeah,
sometimes was a mess.
yeah,
Like we've dealt with.
yeah.
Alexa was a
Alexa,
mess.
yep, yep.
Yeah, Trudy was a mess
Mm-hmm.
sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
Favorite character or character you most identify with?
I mean, I think Danny just there was a lot about Danny that just resonated with me.
Yeah, for sure.
Um, from the weight to, I mean, my high school experience was different, but I certainly, it was a journey for me to get comfortable with my curves, right? And
Hmm.
be comfortable with being heavy set and all of that. And I just saw my heart just kind of ached for her. And again, I think that's why I had a certain level of empathy for Trudy,
Yeah.
because I was just like, oh, because
Yeah.
everybody doesn't find their way through that.
True. True.
So,
And when you find your crew, it's so hard to break up. Like
yeah, yeah.
my best friend got married in October and she's been with her guy, um, I think 7, 6, 5, 6, 7, somewhere in their years before they got married. So I knew him. But like when she got married, I was like, ew. Like, I mean, because he became like her person, like I was still her person. And mind you, I've been married for 12 years, 10 years together for 12. But Michael around, but he don't count. You know what I'm saying? That's just Michael.
How
But like,
mature of you, how
but like
mature all of
she
this
was like
sounds.
my friend. Like she was my
Yes.
friend who I
Mm-hmm.
met when I was 6 years old.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
so it was just like, how dare you marry my friend? Like,
Mm.
ew. I mean, he's nice and all, but ew, it just
Okay,
stressed me
Trudy.
out.
This is sounding a little Trudy-ish, just
That's why
saying.
I'm saying I understand.
Okay. Okay.
Because
Your inner Trudy is showing.
right,
Careful.
she was mine. She was my friend, and now she's your wife. And like, ill, I guess. I'm happy for them, but still, ill. Okay. Yeah, I
Yes.
identified with are you judging me?
I am judging you.
Why?
Blatantly, vocally judging you. Yes, I'm judging you.
Don't judge me. That was my friend. She's still my friend and all that, but it's like ill because he be like wanting to talk to her and stuff while we talking. And it's like, boy.
Yes. How dare he?
But no, no, yes. How dare he? Let's get to the bottom of it.
That this is, but the irony that this is coming from someone who themselves are married, and so your best friend had to go through that transition
Yes, she
10
did.
years ago. So just,
Okay.
yeah, yeah.
So
Okay. All
anyway,
right.
um,
Yes. Okay.
what were your favorite moments or favorite moment and least favorite moment?
There's just too many favorite moments to
For
count,
sure, for
which
sure.
we've definitely covered. And the
Yeah.
least favorite, I think we have discussed why, and discussed the horrors, of some of the things that happen. Horror
Yeah.
is too strong of a word, but like you both felt the horror, but
You
then you were
feel it.
like, it in relation to some other things you see in books, you're like, this is actually kind of lightweit, but I
Yeah.
still am horrified by this.
Well,
So
it's realistic enough for you to think about your own
that's
life.
what it was. That's what it was, right? I think the lack of the dramatic,
Yes.
he had a baby on Danny, he cheated on
Yes.
Danny, that those dramatic things where you're like, nigga! But
Exactly.
you're right. These things were realistic enough where you're just like,
Now that's too
So,
close to home here.
yeah,
Now what?
yeah,
You're gonna have to
yes,
delete this out the book.
yes, yes, yes.
I'm trying to think favorite moment. Ooh. One of my favorites was his introduction to Eric. That's for sure. I liked him. I
Mm-hmm,
liked him recognizing that there was some that the plot had thickened.
mm-hmm.
Um, I also a lot of my favorite moments had to do with their processing.
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
yeah.
and sometimes like it was them together, but it was a lot of them like coming to realizations that I really,
Yes.
really, really enjoyed watching.
That's what I mean about
Yeah,
how much I enjoyed being in their heads.
yeah, yeah,
I think
yeah,
you've articulated slightly differently, but I agree with you 1,000%. I really
hmm,
liked being in their heads as they were
yeah.
processing and coming to certain realizations.
And I fully had a book hangover like when I was done.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
part of it is because it's not there because it's a compilation. It's a not quite an anthology. Anyway, it's a group of short stories together.
Hmm.
So it was longer than probably how most people read it.
Yep.
Um, but also when I had just grown, I had watched them grow up.
Yes.
And so by the
Yes.
end, I was like, I'm gonna have to start at the beginning because I
Right.
miss y'all. Like we
Right.
supposed to still be a family. Where did you
Yes.
go? Like, how
Yes.
dare this be the end of the story?
Yes. Are we
Um,
in Bristol? Are we in
what are we
Pennsylvania?
doing? Because
Right.
y'all looked for a house. First of all, where's my room? Like, what? How are we
Yes.
gonna handle this?
Yeah.
For sure. Who did you want to get their own book?
I'd love to hear and see how Jennifer's doing.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
don't think that's going to happen, but right, kind of the life after that, I think. And also, I think that Trudy could be, look, after what
True.
she did with Keisha, what I described what she does with Keisha,
You
that
have to
that
tell me where to
character.
start. This is the
I
commitment
will.
series?
Yeah, yeah, I
Okay.
will. Um, Trudy would be light work. Trudy would be
Interesting.
light work. Because you hate Keisha. You absolutely hate her.
Okay,
um
Keisha.
yeah, yeah, and then she, becomes fully formed, and you're just like, go girl, go, come on, you can do it, go.
Interesting.
Yeah,
Interesting. Interesting.
yeah. So,
Okay. Um,
and I know you wanted to know, did you like, does Eric get a story? Eric does
yeah,
not yet
I
have a
want Eric
story,
to
so
find
sorry.
love. I want Eric to find love. He seemed like a nice guy. He seemed like a
He
genuinely
did.
nice guy.
He
And
did.
I want him to pass the MCAT with flying colors and become a
Yes.
physician and go on and have a wonderful family because I want him to be
Yes.
happy.
I agree.
So he's my book person. There were so for me there weren't any updates because this is my first thing reading from her. But does anyone appear in this book that's already in other books?
No.
Okay,
Yeah, no.
okay. And what questions do you still have?
I mean, the only thing I'd want to know is how they're doing, right? Because
Yeah,
by now, Ella's got to be a certain age, and
yeah.
Lance and Matt off to college
Oh,
or
Lance and
finishing high school. Yes, it's just all so adorable, right? But there weren't any like burning questions, right? We're left in a
Yeah,
place where we see that the relationship with Eva is probably going to continue to grow and develop, and it's in a much better and peaceful place for all of them. Rand has that conversation with Eva, and Eva's like,
right.
I get it. I'm not, I don't hold anything against you. And you could like feel the weight being lifted off of him as he is hearing that, right? To the point where he cries when she says that, or it lets a tear drop, I should say. It
Yeah,
doesn't full out
yeah.
boohoo. So it's less so much open questions and more would love to just drop in and see how the Reese family are doing.
Yeah, I don't know. You're right. I don't have plot hole questions.
Yeah, exactly.
Um,
Exactly.
so it's just like, where they at, Nia?
Yeah,
Bring them
yeah.
back.
Right. How are they? Give them my love. Yeah.
Right. This really it moved me to fan fiction. So that what that it typically means, because I don't write fan fiction for everything, but typically it may like something in this book made me think about an alternate path for these
Mm,
characters.
mm-hmm,
And like what would have happened if it went a different way.
mm-hmm.
And so I spun into some multiverses with these folks because
Okay.
I really, really like them. So there's a multiverse for them. Yeah. Okay, well I mean, okay, wait, hold on. So I found the commitment series, but where is Keisha? What's the name of Keisha's book?
Keisha is the mistress,
Oh, that's what you told me,
the
Mistress. Let me
mistress
find it.
trilogy.
Okay, I'm gonna
Because I think the
find
first
it.
first is mistress, wife,
Here it is, right
mother
here.
are the names of it. Yeah.
I see. Okay. But start with commitment series and then go to here.
Yeah, the first book in the commitment series, which is Sean and Riley, and I'm just blanking on, we can talk about this offline, but I'm blanking on the name of their book, but they're book one of the commitment series, if I'm
Okay,
not
and she
mistaken.
act crazy in their book.
Yeah,
Got it.
so that
Okay.
you're like, oh, I hate you.
Okay.
Um, yeah.
Well, I have my homework. Attorney General. Attorney General, is there anything else? I don't think there's anything else we need to cover. I
No,
almost don't want to end the podcast because I don't want to stop talking about them.
I know.
But I
Now
don't have
you
nothing else to
see,
say.
right. Now you see why I just love them so much. And,
Yeah.
Nia's just, for those who may listen and just haven't tried her yet, she is just a fantastic storyteller. So I think now you've seen why I'm a big fan of hers. And I'm glad
Yeah,
that,
I'm a fan too. I'm gonna
yeah.
read I want to know, my interest purely from as an author is how her treatment of Keisha. So I'm gonna read book one of the thing and then I'm gonna go and see how she did Keisha because I'm always interested in redeeming irredeemable
Yes.
characters.
Yes.
And so
Yes.
we'll see how it goes.
Well, now I'm
Um
going to have to take that ride with you. I guess I'll have to revisit them.
Right, because I'm sure I'll be in your in the text message in the DM hollering at you like I usually do.
Yes. I look forward to it.
All right, ma'am. You enjoy your holiday weekend.
All right. Talk to you later.
Bye.
Bye.